always working with him with his voice, and my daughters sing. I work with them, all of them. Yeah. All of them have, the thing of music. I guess they would have been influenced by something. Like their dad.
I wonder what.
Your dad.
I wonder who.
Your dad likes music.
Thank you for listening to the interview from the BBC World Service. You'll find more in-depth conversations on the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts. And you can hear more conversations with pop culture and music icons on Sidetracked with myself, Annie McManus, and Nick Grimshaw. Until the next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was The Interview. I'm Saroja Coelho. CBC News is next.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We are live downtown in our studios at CBC. Thanks for being here, whether you are joining us on YouTube this morning, hello there, or whether you're listening here on 89.3 or on the app. Let's talk about the show. We're on air till 8:37 a.m. with your morning show. If you need anyone on the morning commute, you're going to call 788-3093 to reach us here. Abby Adeyemi is our senior tech in the show. Morning, Abby. Abby is also going to be covering your forecast. May McKillop's directing the program this morning. Hi there, May. And Brad Lillies is also here behind the YouTube stream. He's producing your visuals today. Hey there, Brad. And Brad's going to be busy because we have a dog in the studio today that's going to do some tricks. That's one of the fun Friday things coming up. Right now, a high of 17 in Winnipeg. That's for today. Bring your umbrella if you're planning your day. It could be a little bit wet. We have a 60% chance of showers in Winnipeg. That could begin, chance this morning, and we're probably going to be wet this afternoon. Overnight, by the way, 10 to 15 millimeters of rain and then more rain tomorrow. So we're into a wet system. Showers in Brandon as well, high 16 today. And in Thompson, different, sunny, and a high of 19 in that northern Manitoba city. All right, Heather Wells is in with our headlines. Hi, Heather.
Good morning. Well, members of a local union feel betrayed after a former staffer was accused of swindling $55,000 through fake checks. Unifor Local 3005 represents about 350 employees at Magellan Aerospace in Winnipeg. It is now suing a former financial secretary. We'll hear more. And Brandon is a little less green this week. The city's in the process of cutting down more than 70 ash trees along several downtown streets. Those trees had to be sacrificed to stop an infestation of jumping tree lice. We'll hear more coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Or we won't, because that's really gross.
It is not nice. I don't think I'd want to walk near a tree like that.
No, but we will hear more. We'll lean in. We'll just make sure we're not doing it when we're having cereal.
Yes, there you go.
Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Let's get into what else is coming up in the show. I mentioned that fun story about the dog coming in. That is because this weekend, the Red River Exhibition Park is going to the dogs. We're going to meet one of the contestants competing in a bit of a talent show over there. In the first hour of the show, we're going to hear how a local nature museum is receiving a very special recognition. So stay tuned to hear more about it. Right now, though, more national news.
Today on Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. Toni Collette is known as one of the most dynamic and versatile actors of her generation. She'll tell you about embracing emotionally authentic characters and how she's managed to avoid being pigeonholed as an actor.
When people find their groove and they're in it, it just feels like you're meant to do it.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. There's more reaction this morning to the suspension of an American TV host that has turned into a heated battle over free speech in the U.S. Jimmy Kimmel, a vocal critic of U.S. President Donald Trump, taken off the air by ABC this week over comments he made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Trump applauded the move and late yesterday escalated his attacks on broadcasters, saying those who air negative coverage of him should have their licenses revoked.
That's something that should be talked about for licensing, too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, they're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.
Trump made the comments on board Air Force One, returning from a state visit to the UK. His comments come as Kimmel's fellow late-night TV hosts sprung to the comedian's defense on their own programs. Steve Futterman has more.
But with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch. And if ABC thinks Last night, Kimmel's fellow late-night talk show host Stephen Colbert devoted almost his entire monologue to the suspension.
People across the country are shocked by this blatant assault on the freedom of speech.
And comedian Jon Stewart last night tried to show what a newscast might sound like if Donald Trump had control.
He wowed the English with charm, intelligence, and an undeniable sexual charisma.
Protect free speech! Protect free speech!
On Hollywood Boulevard, in front of the theater where Jimmy Kimmel usually tapes his show, there was anger.
Jimmy said nothing wrong. And you know what? Even if he had said something wrong, he did not deserve to be suspended.
Around 100 people gathered, attacking ABC, its parent company Disney, and Donald Trump. On CBC's As It Happens, Tom Wheeler, who was the Federal Communications Commission chairman under Barack Obama, said pressuring ABC to remove Kimmel goes against the FCC bylaws.
The policy manual at the FCC says that the First Amendment prohibits the commission from censoring broadcast material.
Kimmel's suspension has stunned the entertainment industry and has brought comparisons to the McCarthy era of the 1950s. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Donald Trump and Xi Jinping are expected to talk by phone today. The conversation between the American and Chinese leaders could finalize a deal that could see TikTok operating in the U.S. The future of the Chinese-owned social media app has been in question for some time, with Washington threatening to ban it. The CBC's Anis Sadari is in Washington. Anis, what are we expecting?
We are expecting potential details on who controls this app, or at least a little more information. TikTok had been banned in the United States over security concerns unless it was sold by its Chinese parent company. Now, that ban keeps getting delayed over and over again, but we did hear about a framework for a deal earlier this week. We didn't find out anything about it, though. Here's what Trump said yesterday.
TikTok has tremendous value. The people that are investing in it are among the greatest investors in the world, the biggest, the richest, and they'll do a great job. And we're doing it in conjunction with China.
The Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg are reporting that U.S. investors include the company Oracle, that's founded by Larry Ellison. He's a friend of Trump's. One thing to note, there are some reports that this so-called TikTok algorithm, that's the system that recommends videos to you, that might stay under Chinese control, and a U.S.-owned TikTok would basically license or rent it. So if the actual thing that keeps people using TikTok isn't owned by the U.S., it might not settle down any security nerves.
Meanwhile, Anis, Trump's call with Xi also expected to touch on the trade war between the world's two biggest economies. What more can you tell us about that?
It's the first time Trump and Xi have spoken since June. There's a lot for them to discuss, tariffs and trade disputes. The U.S. threatened tariffs of up to 145% on some Chinese exports. Some of those have been suspended or extended. Clearly, diplomatic and trade players are going to be watching and listening for what comes out of this call. Maybe some clues on where their superpower relationship goes, John.
Anis Sadari in our Washington bureau. Thanks, Anis.
You're welcome.
As global trade continues to be unsettled and the future of the North American trade agreement remains uncertain, Canada and Mexico are trying to deepen their economic ties. The Prime Minister has signed a new strategic partnership with Mexico's president that the leaders say will elevate an already strong relationship. Catherine Tunney has the latest from Mark Carney's trade mission to Mexico City.
Carney walked in step with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum as he arrived at Mexico's National Palace on grounds dating back to the Aztec Empire. Canada-Mexico trading relations are much younger, but officials are keen to make sure they have a long, long future. The relationship hasn't always been rosy. Not that long ago, Canadian politicians publicly mused about dropping Mexico from the trade deal with the U.S. And trade talks during President Donald Trump's first term saw the two smaller powers pitted against each other. Both leaders were asked if they've committed to making sure that doesn't happen again.
We're convinced that the trade agreement for all three countries is the best thing for all three countries. That's the best answer we can give you.
But we'll move forward together, without question. Is that unequivocal enough for you? Because if you want it to be unequivocal, just write down unequivocal.
That doesn't mean the two aren't looking at deeper ties. Carney and Sheinbaum announced an action plan Thursday with goals like building up maritime ports to connect the two countries and a focus on boosting investment. Today, Carney will make a stop to watch homegrown wheat get delivered by a Canadian Pacific Kansas City train at a Mexican train yard, a nod that connecting the three countries on the continent is still his intent. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Mexico City.
Police in Newfoundland are lifting a shelter-in-place order. It was issued for the community of Catalina on the Bonavista Peninsula. Residents were asked to stay inside and lock their doors. RCMP say they continue to search for a 31-year-old man in the area. A humpback whale found dead off British Columbia's north coast is believed to have been struck by a BC ferry. A whale strike was reported in the area on Wednesday night, and as Liam Britton reports, the incident is provoking calls for better safety protection in the water.
BC Ferry says the collision happened Wednesday night in Wright Sound, about 130 kilometers southeast of Prince Rupert. The striking vessel was the Northern Expedition, sailing between Port Hardy and Prince Rupert. The company says the crew reported it to Fisheries and Oceans, Gitgat First Nation, and local researchers right away. But by Thursday morning, a dead humpback was spotted floating in the water.
It's a really emotional day for us.
Janie Ray leads research group BC Whales. She says the sex of the animal is not clear yet, but it appeared to be an adult.
We consider them family. We've known a lot of these whales for over 20 years. There's a lot of these whales that we've seen come back with a number of calves over the years. So we're very, very connected to each one of these whales.
Likewise, BC Ferry says incidents like these are deeply felt by its crews and pointed to efforts to prevent whale strikes. It says DFO will conduct a necropsy. Ray wants to see a vessel slowdown zone in the area. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Canadian cancer researchers say funding cuts in the U.S. are threatening care for children here in this country. They say they've been forced to stop enrolling some kids in clinical trials. That's because the cuts are impacting a pediatric brain tumor research group with links to Canada. Alison Northcott has more.
This is Emmett. She's spunky, she's smart.
Emmett Doolin was diagnosed with brain cancer just days after she was born. She had chemo at 3 weeks, but then joined a clinical trial at the BC Children's Hospital, a treatment targeting her type of tumor. Her mother, Lena Doolin, says it gave them hope.
It's been the best thing that's ever happened to her. As much as these kids are resilient, with all the harsh side effects from chemo, I don't think she would have lasted this long.
Clinical trials can offer children with hard-to-treat cancers new options, but recent changes to some U.S. institutions that run pediatric cancer trials are having a ripple effect here.
The impact of this on Canadian children is huge.
Dr. Jim Whitlock, head of hematology oncology at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, says 3 clinical trials at his hospital have stopped enrollment because the group they're linked to in the U.S., the Pediatric Brain Tumor Consortium, is losing its funding.
It means that they won't be able to find those options here in Canada. Those who can may need to travel to the U.S. or to other places outside Canada to access those therapies. And of course, we know that many children and their families simply don't have the means to do that.
Emmett's trial is not affected, but at least 2 other trials for pediatric cancers in Canada have also had to stop enrolling new patients. Experts say Canada needs to strengthen its capacity for clinical trials and be less reliant on the U.S. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. If you're looking for tools to talk about the day's big stories with the little people in your life, check out cbckidsnews.ca, cbckidsnews.ca. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg, and you're on CBC this Friday morning. Thanks for joining us on 89.3 FM. Last Friday of summertime. Officially, it'll probably stay warm into next week. It's going to get wet, though, today. Overnight, a lot of rain. We also have some reports of early morning rain already in the city. Abby's going to have your forecast in just a moment. This hour on the show, a local nature museum here in Winnipeg has received a special recognition. It's part of a national network that is critical to the survival of Canada's most at-risk species and ecosystems. So we'll hear more about the honor and recognition, I should say, being for the Living Prairie Museum here in Winnipeg, where you might have walked through the wildflowers a time or two. I know I have. Also this hour on the show, a course correction on immigration. We're going to hear about recent recommendations from the C.D. Howe Institute about how to change our current system. Stay tuned. Right now, let's go into local headlines and developments overnight in Manitoba. Here now is Heather Wells from our News Centre Live.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba has seen a record number of new physicians. The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba's new annual report shows on April 30th this year, the province had a net gain of 164 physicians compared to the year before. The report shows 3,498 physicians working in Manitoba at the end of April. And of the more than 300 newly registered doctors, 70 obtained their medical degrees in Manitoba. We'll hear more about what's behind this increase. And the plan to overhaul the office that protects seniors in care appears to be stalled. The Protection for Persons in Care was supposed to be disbanded after a scathing report found serious allegations of abuse were being dismissed. We'll hear more on that story as well in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Abby Adeyemi is watching what's going on. I just said there's rain in Winnipeg, but now it looks like it's stopped for a moment, but it's going to be wet later.
Yeah, we got some speeds of rain before the 4 a.m. hour, but that's fizzled out already, and we're still expecting more. There's more showers in the forecast this morning, and then it's going to turn to steady rain as we get into the afternoon. So you might need those burleys today. We'll warm up to 17 degrees, and it's going to be staying breezy. The winds will definitely shift during those rain, but tonight more rain still in the forecast. We're looking at up to 15 millimeters once this system goes through. Across the south, light rain also in Brandon at this time. Up north, we see fog in Flin Flon and we see fog in Thompson. Churchill also saw some rain. It's cooler there. We'll see temperatures warm up to 12 degrees in Churchill. Winnipeg right now, we are at 15, and we only do we just jump 2 spots later and we get to 17 today.
Now, we're about to look at traffic, but I just want to invite people to do something here. I'll send you this, Abby, because
Cool.
I'll do it after my interview, but fog pictures. I got the most beautiful picture of the Prairie sunrise and then the fog over the ground. We have some stunning views in Manitoba right now.
I would look out for that for sure.
I know you've always got your camera in front of your face. You got your drone flying. So I thought you'd be perfect casting for this. I figured we should start an album of fall pictures. We've done this in past years.
I already started capturing those sunsets, the fall sunsets. They're really, really beautiful.
Okay, I'll send you this. We'll get it up on YouTube later, listeners, and we'll start something going here.
Yep, just one thing in traffic, that construction zone that will be coming up southbound Donald between St. Mary's and York, the southbound middle lane and the southbound lane 2 of Donald between St. Mary and York will be closed for building construction up until the end of today. I know you've been having some slow traffic in that axis, so take that into consideration, put that into your plans, or take an alternate route. You see anything in traffic, let us know. 788-3093.
All right, speaking of things that are beautiful, hundreds of species are thriving in Winnipeg's Living Prairie Museum. And now it's getting recognition, as I alluded to, from the Wildlife Conservation Society as a key biodiversity area, or a KBA. Peter Shiroje is Key Biodiversity Areas Assessment and Outreach Coordinator with the Wildlife Conservation Society of Canada. And he's up early and joining us via Zoom. Hi there.
Hi, thanks, Macy, for having me.
Thanks for being here. How did you get, our Living Prairie Museum on your radar?
Well, it popped up. It's it's a really incredible site. This remnant grasslands, this prairie grassland, one of the most endangered ecosystems in Canada, and there's a couple of species there in particular. Downy gentian is this really beautiful small plant, has these deep, intense blue, purple, almost ultraviolet flowers. Super rare, only known from one other location in Canada, and it's about 100 kilometers north of where you would see it in the U.S. or anywhere else. And this other, I'm a bit of a bug geek, and there's this moth there, Whitney's underwing, which is the only place where we know it is in Canada. So it's a really exciting place, and a couple of species there that really critically depend on this site for their survival within the country and probably in the globe as well.
What's the moth called again?
Whitney's underwing.
Whitney's underwing. Okay, we're going to Google that because I want to see what it looks like. We actually, if you're watching on YouTube, we put up the gentium, the purple flower, not to be confused with bellflower, by the way, which is really common. But this is. Can it be used for anything? This flower? Is it protected? Can you eat it? Can you work with it? Do you leave it be? Tell me a bit more about it.
Yeah, you would probably want to leave it be just because it's so rare, it's so uncommon. This is the northern part of its range as well. So, in an era of climate change and change for species, these northern populations are, we always think, really critical for genetic diversity and for, having the forerunning adaptations that the species might need in the future. So I would probably recommend leaving it alone. Definitely take a photo. I don't know if it's used for anything in terms of what you would want to do with it other than
Leave it.
just enjoy the beauty of it.
And Whitney's underwing, the moth, is actually kind of a standard-looking moth. It's got some grays. It does on its bottom wings appear to have sort of some striations and a little bit of kind of is it orangey yellowy hue? How big is it?
Yeah. Pretty small, maybe a couple centimeters, kind of your standard moth, but I don't know. As a pollinator geek, all these things are really cool. It's a very prairie specific moth as well. And this is, aside from a couple years ago, I think the last time we saw it in Canada was the 1800s or the early 1900s. Yeah, really neat species to see, and just shows like the Living Prairie Museum is such an incredible ecosystem and habitat for so many species.
I'm a nerd for this stuff too, by the way. I've always got all those plant apps and, walking around. What does it mean to have something labeled as a key biodiversity area?
Yeah, so the key biodiversity areas are this global initiative, actually. So across the world, countries are identifying these critical areas for nature, sites that are important for the long-term survival of species and ecosystems. These are places across oceans, across landscapes, lands, and other waters as well. When we think across the rest of Canada, it's places like Churchill, where we see polar bears or beluga or caribou aggregating together, and depending on the landscape. It's places like Grasslands National Park, where you have, again, these huge stretches of prairie grassland and tall grass prairie. We think of places like Wood Buffalo or the Fraser River Estuary. So Living Prairie Museum is in really good company, and this is a really scientifically robust and rigorous designation that's granted. It's uncommon for a site to have this recognition. So it's, a really special thing and helps recognize the importance of Living Prairie Museum and make sure that it's a site that we consider and that we recognize the importance of and ensure that it's conserved or stewarded in proper ways.
And it's in the city, which really I think of that as a gift. You've alluded to this a little bit already, Peter, but what is the flower that we're talking about? Tell us about the land around us in Winnipeg.
Yeah, so it's, this flower is, again, a kind of prairie, very prairie specialist species. And so it's the Living Prairie Museum, of course, is this remnant prairie grassland ecosystem. And, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, would have been historically covered in this type of prairie. But it's been one of the most threatened, one of the most degraded ecosystems over the last 100 years, as it's perfect ecosystems for growing things and for doing a lot of other stuff as well. So these types of ecosystems have really disappeared across our landscape, but they used to be these incredible, iconic Canadian ecosystems. And so this patch of habitat that's right in the middle of Winnipeg, Living Prairie Museum and the city have just been doing an incredible job of maintaining and restoring this ecosystem.
So that's them. But what about overall? What do you think needs to be done to make sure these kinds of spaces are preserved?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, being aware of them is a really big thing. It's often in Canada, we think of biodiversity and nature, and we think of outside of Canada, we think of the Amazons and the Serengetis and things like that. But within our country, we have these really incredible, really unique pieces of nature and natural heritage as well. So I think recognizing that is a big first step. Connecting with it as well, Living Prairie Museum, folks in Winnipeg are so, it's awesome that you can, drive out and enjoy this place within a really close distance. So I think, reconnecting with that nature, being aware of it, and like you mentioned some of these apps that you have on your phone to recognize plants and moths and butterflies and other things. iNaturalist is a great one, and people that submit observations to that, it comes directly to researchers and really supports conservation work. So that's a great way if you have a weekend or an evening and you want to download one of these apps and start uploading observations, is a great way to support.
What a nice way to start the last Friday show of the summer with you talking about Living Prairie. Thank you very much for being with us via Zoom, Peter. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. Take care.
That is Peter Charoyer, the Key Biodiversity Areas Assessment Coordinator with the Wildlife Conservation Society of Canada. To learn more about KBAs and flowers that you Obviously, they're rare. You should not be picking or making salad with. What a silly question that was on my part. But to learn more about KBAs, you can head to wcscanada.org, wcscanada.org.
It's Canada's most prestigious competition for new short fiction. The 2026 CBC Short Story Prize is on. Send in your best original unpublished short fiction. Up for grabs, cash prizes from the Canada Council for the Arts, a 2-week writing residency at the Banff Centre for Arts and Creativity, and your work published on CBC Books. Contest closes November 1st. For rules and more, go to cbcbooks.ca.
Time right now is 6:21. It is Friday morning. It is September 19th already, and it's cloudy in Winnipeg, 15 degrees. There's been spaces in the city, places rather, where there's been a little bit of rain already reported. There's light drizzle and fog right now in Portage La Prairie, and there is rain coming here. It's also raining right now in Brandon lightly, and up in Thompson it is a foggy start with 1 degree. Well, next on the show, elementary school students are now back in the swing of things in school, but the hustle and bustle of getting ready for the start of a new year might have parents missing getting their children's eyes checked. It is something that CBC Disability column and parent Luke Williams has firsthand experience with. He's been looking into how to overcome challenges with vision loss in the classroom. And we recently did an interview about this on CBC at the beginning of the year, about the importance of getting your kids' eyes checked. But Luke has a bit of a personal story here as well. He joins us this morning from Hamilton, Ontario. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So why did you decide to look into this?
Yeah, let me take you back a few weeks. The end of summer, my 10-year-old daughter told me that she wanted an eye exam for back to school because, in her words, she totally definitely needed glasses. Marcy, I can report she now has those glasses, and in her words, she totally definitely is not wearing them.
I love that you're quoting her. That sounds exactly like a 10-year-old. What are the recommendations for getting kids' eyes checked?
Yeah, Marcy, you mentioned you've done a story on this recently. The recommendations I have for you this morning, they come from the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. Andrew Galster is their executive director. He suggests that a first vision test is done for a child that's 6 months old, but after that child turns 5, those exams should become annual. That's because that's when the kids really start to grow, eyes change quickly. It's also around the time that kids really start diving into schoolwork and learning. So if there is an issue, they can get corrective glasses and definitely wear them. But Andrew told me there's more reasons as well. Here's what he had to say.
Now, of course, one of the other reasons that we want to get those early eye exams is so that we can identify issues that are not correctable. And again, that's where CNIB starts to enter the field of play. And if it's non-correctable, then we're really looking towards the classroom of how do we set you up for success.
Well, when you look at this, when things aren't going well, what happens when a child's eye test reveals more serious problems with their vision?
Yeah, what to do next, Marcy? First of all, don't freak out. Like with so many things in life, when it comes to learning with a disability, you aren't a beginner at learning. You're simply a beginner at learning with a disability attached. This is something I spoke to Jade Ondrick about, who's a recent grad who lives with albinism. Marcy, you've likely seen someone who has this condition. They have paler skin, lighter blonde or white hair, and it usually leads to eye conditions. Now, Jade counts herself as lucky that she had positive supports and allies in the classroom. She told me that while she didn't always get what she needed, as her learning progressed, it became easier to do so.
As I got older and being able to communicate, this isn't large print, sorry, I need something a bit bigger, and being able to have those accommodations and ultimately advocating for myself, potentially more than I should have had to, but because of the support that I had around me, I felt comfortable doing so.
Jade shared with me that there were people in her past who told her she wouldn't be successful in learning due to her vision loss. But she says that completing university and getting a job as a guide dog specialist for her is a personal measure of success that's due to hard work that her and her allies put into her time in classrooms.
I love how you framed not new at learning with a disability, Luke. I just want to nod to that. How do parents help their kids when it comes to learning in the classroom?
Yeah, Marcy, I'm still trying to get my kid to wear glasses, so I don't know if I can be an expert on this. So I talked to a mom. Her name's Chris Abdallah. She's out in Calgary. Her son Zachary has dealt with significant vision loss since he was 2 months old. He's now 18. Chris told me that her and Zachary struggled to help him find help in his time in school and through learning. So she turned to her community to find other parents in similar situations. All of this came with mistakes and challenges along the way, but it's also come with rewards. Chris has actually recently started an organization called the Alberta Access to Education Coalition. It's a group of parents, teachers, and healthcare providers who all work together on vision-related issues. It's something that she told me she wishes Zachary had when he was much younger.
You're trying to set this child up against barriers out there for the most successful, beautiful, independent life that they possibly can have. And that can be overwhelming, and it can become just about the quote-unquote fight. And you need to really step back. You need to pick your battles. You need to celebrate your child.
Marcy, Chris shared with me that these days she likes to go visit Zachary and his guide dog Kai at the University of Calgary, where they both seem to be thriving through Zachary's second year, especially Kai.
He's a second year of university, but he just got a guide dog in June, and he's just loving it. And that his dog Kai just loves going to university with him. Yeah, I go to pick them up once in a while, and then I see them walking and Kai's tail's just wagging. He's living his best life.
So there you have it, Marcy. Zachary and Kai out at the University of Calgary living their best lives. That is thanks to Zachary's own work as well as Chris's strong guidance.
Lovely story, Luke. Totally, definitely an important report. Good luck with getting your 10-year-old to wear their glasses.
That is totally, definitely a fight. Thank you for letting me share this morning, Marcy.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. That is CBC Disability columnist live with us via Zoom, Luke Williams. We reached him this morning in Hamilton, Ontario. Well, just before the news, we have time to slide in a little music, so let's do that. This is Colombian-Canadian musician Teishi Monton, who has a new record out. The tune's called Monton.
Used to be the type I chased. Might have had a pretty face, but didn't want to do the things I did. Now I'm with a gentleman. He's the type to break you in, and there's no use trying to fight it. Tus pupilas se llenan de mí, mi fragancia. Se mezcla con el vino, tu beso y la cancha. Me gustas un montón. Thought about it with the lights off. El amor reggaeton, and I think he kinda liked it. Me gustas un montón. Thought about it with the lights off. El amor reggaeton, and I think he kinda liked it. Bodies on the floor, bodies on the floor.
Just enough time to highlight this artist so you can check out more of their music. As I mentioned, this is a Colombian-Canadian musician, Teishi, and the tune is called Monton. And the album, in case you're checking it out, is her second album. It's called Make Believe, I Make Believe. So you can check it out and get it downloaded if you want to check that out and listen to it again. Let's get to traffic briefly here. Southbound Donald, the middle lanes are closed between St. Mary's and York, so that's kind of a pain through the downtown area. Otherwise, things are looking okay. Maybe a little foggy if you're up north, especially around the Thompson area. 788-3093. Call Abby if you have a problem. Coming up, we have business news. We're going to talk about a move on Wall Street that has people hearkening back to the 1980s. We'll find out why after your CBC Winnipeg news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 6:30. It's a humid 15 degrees. No rain yet, but there's a chance we'll have some on this last Friday of summer. Fall arrives next week. But for today, showers beginning this afternoon, continuing tonight and into tomorrow. Today's high, a seasonal 17. The plan to overhaul the office that protects seniors in care appears to be stalled. The Protection for Persons in Care was supposed to be disbanded after a scathing report found serious allegations of abuse were being dismissed. It was a promise made under the former PC government in 2023. Former Judge William Burnett was paid more than $1 million to help create this new independent office. Now the NDP isn't committing to the plan. PC health critic Trevor King says it's a waste of taxpayers' dollars.
It's rather concerning and appalling that a report that a huge amount of taxpayers' dollars was spent on this individual to give recommendations, and nothing is being done with it.
Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says that was a Tory promise, and the NDP government is instead focused on eliminating the office's backlog and creating a new seniors advocate. Manitoba has seen a record number of new physicians. That's according to numbers in the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba's new annual report. It shows on April 30th this year, Manitoba had a net gain of 164 physicians compared to the year before. Jeremy De Young is Director of Registration at the college. He says the increase is likely due to a number of factors like recruitment efforts, increasing the number of medical school and residency seats, and upping the number of people enrolled in Manitoba's medical licensure program for international medical graduates.
Then, of course, provinces across the country are engaged in recruitment efforts nationally and internationally. So that has an impact as well. People have an interest in Canada now for practicing healthcare professions.
The report shows 3,498 physicians working in this province at the end of April. Of the 302 newly registered doctors, 70 obtained their medical degrees in Manitoba. Members of a local union want to recoup $55,000 allegedly stolen by their former financial secretary. Unifor Local 3005 represents about 350 employees at Magellan Aerospace in Winnipeg. It is now suing a former financial secretary. The lawsuit alleges she submitted payments from union funds into her own personal bank account through fake checks. A.J. McCauley is the union's current financial secretary. He says members want that money back.
The members want us to proceed. They have voted to direct us to proceed to the fullest extent of the law and civil matter, whatever it takes.
None of the allegations have been proven in court. The former financial secretary was also charged with theft over $5,000. Well, the fallout continues after one of America's biggest TV stars was taken off the air. Jimmy Kimmel suspended by ABC this week after making comments about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The move was cheered by U.S. President Donald Trump, who Kimmel has been critical of. Last night, Kimmel's fellow late-night hosts came to his defense.
Is Donald Trump stifling free speech?
Of course not, John. Americans are free to express any opinion we want. To suggest otherwise is laughable. Ha, ha, ha.
People across the country are shocked by this blatant assault on the freedom of speech.
Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart with their takes on Kimmel's suspension. Stewart presented a satirical version of The Daily Show that he called Administration Complaint. Critics say Kimmel's suspension amounts to censorship and is a violation of the First Amendment and free speech in the U.S. An overnight drone attack strikes Kyiv. Warning sirens and sounds of Ukraine's air defense system in action heard over the capital. Debris from destroyed drones did some damage on the ground, but there are no reports of anyone being killed. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, people in Brandon hope it is a case of addition by subtraction. The city is in the process of cutting down more than 70 ash trees in downtown Brandon. They say it's to stop the spread of the cottony ash psyllid, a disease commonly known as jumping tree lice. Emmy Sanderson at the Brandon Downtown Biz says no one likes to lose greenery.
From a biz perspective, we're hoping this actually adds to beautification because a lot of these trees looked dead all year. So it's actually beautification to remove them and replace them with something healthy.
The city of Brandon says replacements for the trees cut down now will be planted in the spring. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I'm obsessed with my new tree in my boulevard.
Oh, really? What is it?
It is a maple for sure, because I went out there with my plant app, totally nerdy, right? Looking at the leaves. I'm trying to figure out what kind of maple, and I'm pretty sure it's a blaze maple, which means it should turn like not fully red, which I was hoping for, but maybe kind of blends of red and kind of yellow orange. Like it could be quite lovely.
Nice.
Apparently, it takes a couple years to be established, though. I kind of won't know until it's into it and established. And right now, it just looks kind of confused and sad and getting used to its new home and lost a couple leaves.
It takes time.
It does. And it needs rain, which we're getting. So thank you, Heather. Why don't we turn to our forecast here? Abby is here with our regional forecast on CBC 89.3 FM and to tee up the day.
Yeah, the leaves are definitely changing colors, Marcy. And, we just need to enjoy the last stretch of summer, and the fall will be coming our way.
Next week?
Next week, with these damp conditions coming our way, and of course the overcast, we do have a good chance of showers in most of the regions. Fairly mild in the areas today. Southern regions, looking at Winnipeg and the rest of the Red River Valley region this morning, about 15 degrees, cloudy skies, a good chance of showers. You saw some earlier, more to come as we get into the morning, and that we're going to feel the showers into the afternoon period. And even on your way home, you might still get some rain in the city. We'll see temperatures only get to 17 degrees today. Down in the Pembina Valley region, more than Winkler, Alton and Morris, 14, 15s. That's what we're seeing there. Also cloudy there. Showers in the forecast. Highs will be close to the mid-teens, and the winds will be coming from the northeast. It's going to feel mild for folks there. Out in the Westman region, around Brandon, all the way down to Nipawin, we already had light showers earlier. Now we have some cloudy conditions. 13 degrees right now. Expect more showers by the afternoon period. Highs will be about 16 degrees. The winds will be turning from the northeast, getting breezy as you get close to your lunch break. Over in the Parkland region, Dauphin, Russell, Roblin, we're looking at 12 degrees. You're waking up to foggy conditions. That should lift as you get into your morning. Then it's going to stay mostly cloudy. We do have a slim chance of showers for that part of the province. High will be near 17 degrees. The winds also coming from the northwest, and it's going to stay mild. Around 15 degrees in Gimli and the Interlake region. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies and showers arriving in the afternoon. Highs will be around 17 degrees. In the powerful influence surrounding areas, 10 degrees at this time, warming up to 17. Thompson is at 0 with misty skies, high 19, and Churchill is at 10, warming up to about 18, 19 degrees later.
All right, thanks, Abby. I know that May just picked the phone up, so maybe we have a traffic tip. Looks okay.
What I have in traffic is just that St. Mary's and York southbound middle lane. It's going to be something for commuters to look out for as you get into your day.
Okay, so maybe a little bit later when it gets busy, but so far so good, so early. And we'll see if anything develops. The number, by the way, that people are calling our traffic line on, May McKillop directing the show and picking up that phone, 788-3093, if you have anything that's causing issues in traffic. Also, I am fishing for photos. We'll get these up a little later in the program. But I always love when you send us fall photos because we will lose the leaves soon. So let's see the trees. Let's see the fog. Let's see the fields. And let's put up an album on our Facebook page that we can also roll here live on InfoRad on our YouTube stream. So you can get those photos to us in a couple of ways. The best way is to email us. I know it's old school, but radio893@cbc.ca. You can also post on my Facebook page, and I'll get that thread started this half hour. That is Marcy Marcusa on Facebook, and it acts as a show page while we're on the air. All right, let's turn our attention to business news at 20 to 7 this morning. Hallie Cotnam, as she does always, joins us with our report. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So a fruitful business trip to Mexico for Canada, right?
Yeah. We signed a pact to deepen economic and security ties. Bit of a relationship mending process going on, I think, Marcy, ahead of what everyone expects to be a really tough round of negotiations or tinkering or review in CUSMA in the new year. Yesterday's deal was signed by Prime Minister Mark Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, and it includes a plan to build up infrastructure such as ports and railways and energy corridors, but also tackle crime and protect the environment. Carney is describing it as elevated cooperation, but I found it interesting that both leaders emphasized yesterday that the deal will complement CUSMA. Sheinbaum said in Spanish that the trade agreement for all three countries is the best thing for all three countries.
To another story that everyone's talking about, you have another update on the Jimmy Kimmel situation this morning.
Yeah, Bloomberg is reporting this morning that Disney executives will meet with Jimmy Kimmel to discuss the future of his show, to figure out if there's a way to return Jimmy Kimmel Live to the air. Meanwhile, last night, other late-night hosts came out in support of their colleague. I know Heather had some of their material on your local news. Here's more from Jon Stewart's special appearance last night on The Daily Show.
Our great administration has laid out very clear rules on free speech. Now, some naysayers may argue that this administration's speech concerns are merely a cynical ploy, a thin gruel of a ruse, a smokescreen to obscure an unprecedented consolidation of power and unitary intimidation, principleless and coldly antithetical to any experiment in a constitutional republic governance. Some people would say that. Not me, though. I think it's great.
So that's Jon Stewart popping up on The Daily Show last night. But Donald Trump, I don't know if you caught this, Marcy, now threatening to revoke the broadcasting licenses of TV networks that air negative stories about him. He made these comments on Air Force One on his way back from the UK. Specifically, he said, I've read someplace that the networks were 97% against me, 97% negative. I would think maybe their license should be taken away.
End of the quote there from Donald Trump. I have to say here, Hallie, and I have said this for years since Donald Trump's first administration, everything he says, he does. And from the day one when he was running and people said, oh, he won't be president, he can't do this, he can't do that. Everything he has said, he actually does. And it's that I think sits with me as as we're going through this and continuing to hear what he has to say on this issue. As a journalist, of course, I'm vibrating. Let's talk about Wall Street here. We're going to move our attention to that. There's a big move on Wall Street that has people thinking about the 1980s.
Yes, NVIDIA is investing $5 billion in Intel, this struggling legacy semiconductor company. NVIDIA's CEO calling it a fusion of two world-class platforms, blending Intel's strength in making conventional computer chips that power most laptops, for example, with NVIDIA's focus on the specialized graphics chips that are used now in AI. So Intel was at its best during the personal computer boom, but it seemed to kind of miss the shift to mobile computing and now AI. So this partnership with the world's most valuable company is considered a lifeline. So yesterday, Intel's shares jumped nearly 23%, its biggest one-day percentage gain since 1987. So I thought, what were people listening to, Marcy, at the last time Intel shares were hot like this? Take a listen.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Just a little audio time capsule to remind listeners when the last time Intel shares were in such demand, 1986. And a reminder as well that last month the U.S. government stepped in to buy a 10% stake in the company to bolster domestic high-tech and manufacturing. So Intel stock surge yesterday increased the value of Uncle Sam's stock by $2.5 billion. And that prompted a White House official to come out last night to say Donald Trump was not involved in NVIDIA's $5 billion investment in Intel. So some interesting moves on Wall Street.
87, a big year. How old were you then? Or what grade were you in?
Are you kidding me? I'm not talking about that, Marcy. Let's just say I remember asking my sisters, what does Wang Chung mean? What does it mean?
Do you know what? I remember asking my sister in 87, what is Bon Jovi? Because someone at school told me it was a pasta.
Okay.
Like a pasta noodle? And my sister's like, no. Speaking of music. All right, Hallie, we'll talk to you next week.
Have a great weekend.
You too. That's Hallie Cottenham with our business news. Cloudy and 15 right now in Winnipeg. Well, next on the show, let's build out the Jimmy Kimmel story a little bit. There has been such intense reaction across the entertainment world to ABC's sudden and indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The late night talk show host, as we've been all reporting, was pulled from the air Wednesday. That followed his recent remarks about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Some comedians and political pundits are concerned the move signals a turning point in freedom of speech protections. And Eli Glasner, CBC's senior entertainment reporter, says the U.S. media landscape is rapidly changing. He spoke about that to CBC News Network host Andrew Nichols yesterday.
We have seen the White House attacking, defunding, suing broadcasters, newspapers, reporters, anyone that Trump sees as the enemy. There was the lawsuit, may I remind you, of 60 Minutes for the editing of the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris that saw executives leaving and CBS settling and giving $16 million to a future Donald Trump library. There was the end of the Stephen Colbert Show, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, again from CBS. This was the most popular late show on television at its time. Ratings had been growing year after year. CBS decides to end the show. Colbert, very strong critic of Donald Trump. And again, you talk about mergers. Well, the big picture, CBS is part of Paramount. Paramount wanted to merge with Skydance, and that merger was eventually approved after the Late Show was ended. Now, we can't prove any kind of causality, but you see these big wheels turning, and the head of Skydance is David Ellison, and his father, who is the richest man in the world currently, is Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, who is also a big supporter of Trump. Now CBS has a new ombudsman there, supposedly in charge of looking at news neutrality, and there are reports that Skydance Paramount is looking at Warner Brother. And if it absorbed Warner Brothers, then that would mean it would now be in charge of CNN, another big news footprint in the United States. Then we could talk about New York Times. Trump recently launched a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times for defaming him against the Times and 4 different reporters. There's the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which says it's now winding down because Trump signed a law clawing back $1.1 billion in funding, which will affect the running of PBS and NPR, which Trump sees as critics. And then finally, can bring you all the way back to the tale of the Associated Press. You remember they wanted to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Mexico. Trump would like it called the Gulf of America. And now continually, the Associated Press are still restricted from reporting on certain White House events. And so this is kind of a larger battle against media and who Trump sees as his opponents. And that is why you're now hearing from people such as comedian Mark Maron that this is a creeping kind of authoritarianism. Take a look.
This is government censorship. This is the Trump administration coming after people who speak out against him. This is the end of it. If you have any concern or belief in real freedom or the Constitution and free speech, this is it.
And certainly Mark Maron, just one of many comedians, are rallying to Jimmy Kimmel's side.
Eli Glasner with some analysis there. Eli is a senior entertainment reporter for CBC. He was speaking with CBC News Network host Andrew Nichols.
The night lights up with art in the Exchange, and After Dark will be there. Winnipeg, this is Odario Williams, and I will be spinning tunes for a special recording of After Dark, just outside of Art Space for Nuit Blanche, September 27th. Art, music, dance, all night. Nuit Blanche, proudly sponsored by CBC. Just visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for details.
Western Canada's best up-and-coming hip-hop, country, rock artists, and more are coming to Winnipeg. Winnipeg welcomes Breakout West September 24th to 28th, a 4-day music conference and 3-day music festival, including the Western Canadian Music Awards, and CBC is a proud sponsor. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
Hey, I got to talk about that for a minute because a week from today, we are going to be buzzing here at CBC. Our studios are going to be full of live music. There's going to be all kinds of analysis of the different artists and the different things going on in Winnipeg for those special events. And I know that our current affairs team, especially Up to Speed, has been really working ahead at getting some great programming on for you. So that is a week from today when really that next Friday is going to be probably the biggest day when we hear about all of these stories. But of course, it's next weekend and through all of next weekend that is going to be really special and musical all over the city. So lots to look forward to. In the show, here's a few things you can look forward to on Information Radio this morning. Coming up after 7 o'clock, it's like a library, but instead of borrowing books, you borrow other people's life stories. How we're going to learn more about the Human Library event in the city. Maybe you've been to one in the past. But this morning, we're going to hear how this how a Winnipeg language school is using the Human Library to fight loneliness in our newcomer community. So that is coming up after 7 o'clock specifically as we look at some of those Human Library connections and conversations that are going to be happening. Well, speaking of newcomers, a prominent Canadian think tank is recommending significant reforms to this country's immigration policy. The C.D. Howe Institute is calling for a, quote, fundamental course correction to make up for policies enacted during the pandemic. Now, joining me to talk about it is Parisa Mabubi. She's a senior policy analyst with the organization. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So why do you think a course correction is needed on immigration? In what way?
So in regards to immigration, we saw a significant increase in not only in terms of the numbers, also we saw significant shifts in terms of who we select, and government is trying to meeting several objectives that some of them they are actually competing objectives, and we need to ensure that we are selecting top candidates. So in that case, we are benefiting from immigration, and those immigrants can contribute to the economy and also benefit from our immigration policy.
So the last Liberal government already did make some adjustments. They capped international student permits. They tightened the temporary foreign worker program. They lowered permanent resident admission targets as well. How big of an impact has that had?
We saw some impact only in regards to international students. We saw declines over time since the announcement, but other programs and areas of temporary immigration, for example, temporary foreign worker programs and also asylum system, they saw increases. And just recently, in regards to temporary foreign workers, we saw minimal decline. So, but the immigration, temporary residents, the numbers are higher than where the announcement came. So it's really important to ensure that not only we are limiting the number of people arriving to Canada, and also those who are leaving the country and or exiting to permanent immigration, and also ensuring that individuals, for example, when you for asylum system, those who really in need of the system to protect them, they can enter the system, not anyone that sees as a path to permanent residency. And in regards to temporary foreign workers, we need to really do something about, instead of addressing low-paying jobs and, in terms of the labor shortage, we need to focus on the jobs that is not possible to fill with existing population in Canada.
And why do we need to do this? What's your concern?
So the main concern is that we need to reduce the total number of non-permanent residents. It's not just because there is concern about that. People think that we have too many non-permanent residents in Canada. Another reason is that we have to make a balance between the number of people we can admit as permanent immigrants and the number of temporary residents, because many of these individuals, their ultimate goal is to become permanent residents and stay in Canada for long term. So when there is an imbalance between the number of people that they are on temporary status compared to the number of people we can admit, that created challenges. People won't leave Canada easily after expiry of their programs. They may switch to other programs or become undocumented. There is a concern there, and also it's in regards to, for example, economy. economy is changing, and some of these jobs that the low-skilled jobs, they are not available anymore, and we are going to see increases in unemployment rates of not only Canadian in general, in Canadian residents in general, but also these temporary foreign workers.
What will happen to our ability to meet labor market needs if we implement the kind of changes you're talking about to the system?
So we are not going to, the recommendations are not about closing the door and not bringing any immigrants. It's about to selecting the right type of immigrants. And when it comes to labor shortages, we need to, again, think about what type of shortages we are talking about. Are we talking about the shortages that can be addressed by high school diploma, for example, they are available and they can't be filled, or no one applies for those jobs because the wages are too low, or the work condition is not appropriate, or whether these jobs are possible to be automated, so there will be no need for labor needs. So we have to consider all these factors that can help address labor gaps. And then if there is any real one that can be addressed in any way, then we can think about immigration as a solution.
Well, I appreciate your perspective and your argument and your call for change. I'm wondering whether you have concerns that immigrants are being overly blamed for Canada's problems like housing costs and unemployment, and going in this direction might deepen that argument.
This is true that immigration, especially in recent years, have been blamed for many issues. One reason, it could be wrong policy in terms of increasing the numbers significantly without thinking, okay, where they are going to reside, and also whether we have the resources and capacity to absorb them. Post-pandemic, because there was a demand for labor significantly, it was possible to absorb them, but not even in terms of the housing, because housing is not something that can be addressed overnight, and the issues, they are not created by immigrants. We had housing challenges, and in regards to, for example, when it comes to supply side of the housing market, but wrong policy in regards to immigration contributed to the existing challenges, and now immigrants are blamed for all types of issues we are facing. By these changes that the council and City Hall recommends, we can correct the course, and we can bring confidence in immigration policy.
Thank you for being with us, Prisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Prisa Mahboubi is a senior policy analyst with the C.D. Howe Institute. Let's go to our local headlines with Heather.
Manitoba has seen a record number of new physicians. That's according to numbers in the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba's new annual report. It shows in April, this province had a net gain of 164 physicians compared to the year before. 3,498 physicians working in Manitoba at the end of April. More on that coming up. And Brandon is in the process of cutting down more than 70 ash trees along several downtown streets. The trees had to be sacrificed to stop the infestation of a disease known as jumping tree lice. We're going to hear from the Brandon Downtown Biz in our next local news at 7:30.
Because lice isn't enough. Now they jump.
I know. That's so frightening. You wouldn't want to sit under a tree.
All right. Thanks, Heather. Let's talk about traffic. Downtown in southbound Donald, middle lanes closed between St. Mary's and York, so that could be an issue. Otherwise, we're not hearing anything. 788-3093. What a beautiful sky. Nice and inky over downtown Winnipeg. It's got rain in it, though. 60% chance that showers are coming here. It already is raining, drizzling in Portage la Prairie. And then this afternoon, and tonight, we're going to be wet. 10 to 15 millimeters of rain in Winnipeg. Today's high is 17 as we look at the instability moving in. Right now it's cloudy and 15 degrees. In the next hour of the show, we are going to be talking about the Human Library, the one place you're encouraged not to be quiet. It's the second edition for the Heartland School to be part of this. We're going to talk to the organizer, a newcomer from Mexico who's using this as a way to learn English. So that's a local event we'll be looking at. Also in the next hour, more local reaction to Charlie Kirk and people locally who are saying they're losing friends online for speaking out.
Today on The Current.
Where's the beef?
A few years back, fake meat burgers, meatballs, and other meals were all the rage, but now the appetite for fake meat seems to be waning. What is behind the return of beef? but also the old school veggie burger that just tastes like vegetables. That's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
Hey, where's the thief?
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. The fallout continues after one of America's biggest TV stars was taken off the air. Jimmy Kimmel was suspended by ABC this week after making comments about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The move was cheered by U.S. President Donald Trump, who Kimmel has been critical of. Last night, Kimmel's fellow late-night hosts came to his defense.
People across the country are shocked by this blatant assault on the freedom of speech.
Is Donald Trump stifling free speech?
Of course not, John. Americans are free to express any opinion we want. To suggest otherwise is laughable. Ha ha ha.
Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart with their takes on Kimmel's suspension. Stewart presented a satirical version of The Daily Show that he called, quote, administration compliant. Kimmel's suspension has sparked debate in the U.S. about freedom of speech, and the White House using its power to silence critics. Trump, though, argues Kimmel was pulled off the air for other reasons.
Look, he was fired. He had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings.
Kimmel was suspended after saying Trump and his allies were trying to score political points off of Kirk's killing. The comments were criticized by the head of the Federal Communications Commission. ABC says the show is off the air indefinitely. Donald Trump will turn his attention from television broadcasters to social media later this morning. He's expected to speak over the phone with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The call coming several days after China and the U.S. announced a framework agreement to transfer TikTok to U.S.-controlled ownership. If successful, it would represent a breakthrough after months of tension between the world's two biggest economies. Lisa Shing reports.
You have to love what you do.
The White House TikTok account, launching last month during negotiations with Beijing over how to keep the streaming platform running in the U.S.
And we're speaking to President Xi on Friday.
Donald Trump is hoping a deal can be finalized with Chinese President Xi Jinping on a phone call after officials announced a framework agreement earlier this week.
The kind of money we're talking about is very substantial.
Last year, Congress passed a law requiring the U.S. operations be sold by Chinese parent company ByteDance to an American buyer or be banned over security concerns, though enforcement delayed through executive orders. Some analysts say while security may be a concern, the discussions aren't really about that. Andrew Clement is a professor emeritus in the Faculty of Information at the University of Toronto.
TikTok is a threat to the U.S. tech companies. This is geopolitics played out in the digital space.
The big question, what happens to the app's most powerful tool, says Jia Wang, senior fellow of the China Institute at the University of Alberta.
The algorithm is really key to TikTok's success and to make TikTok so addictive. How that algorithm is managed is still not very clear.
TikTok's ownership, a major sticking point in the two countries' trade talks. The call between its leaders, a possible precursor to a meeting at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea next month. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
South Korea says it will hold off on a multi-billion-dollar investment in the United States until Washington resolves its visa issue. Earlier this month, an immigration raid on a Hyundai plant in Georgia targeted Korean workers, who authorities said were working in the country illegally. Patrick Falk has more on the dispute.
In South Korea, there's been widespread anger over workers detained in a U.S. immigration raid before being sent home. Jang Yong-sol was a subcontractor caught up in what's now turned into a diplomatic dispute. He says nobody from South Korea is going to work in the U.S. if it's like this. Some reports say workers were tied up and even had guns pointed at them. The incident now threatens to upend a $350 billion investment package South Korea made as part of a trade deal with the Trump administration. Today, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun said resolving the visa hurdle is a priority and that Seoul is taking decisive steps to address the matter. On Thursday, the government launched a task force to ensure the views of Korean companies are passed on to the U.S. Some key concerns included difficulties in getting visas issued and the lack of work visa options for employees of South Korean companies. The demand to resolve visa-related problems comes on top of a separate stumbling block between the two sides. Concern over the foreign exchange impact of the deal has also prevented them from reaching a final agreement. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Singapore.
In Ottawa, the Liberal government is set to introduce legislation to criminalize certain symbols of hatred. If passed, it would be illegal to promote hatred using those symbols outside places of worship and community centres. The CBC's Janice McGregor is following the story for us. Janice, MPs of all stripes have condemned violence or hate directed at religious institutions, but there is controversy about this bill. What is it?
Yeah, this legislation, John, is going to revive a debate that began in the last Parliament over how to define and crack down on hate speech without also restricting charter rights. Justice Minister Sean Fraser told reporters that the Liberals are trying to strike the right balance.
But we think we've done a good job to specifically accommodate Canadians' right to free expression, allowing them to continue to protest on issues that they feel are great importance to the country without compromising on the essential public safety imperative of addressing hate.
Social justice groups fear the government will have now the power to decide what symbols, movements, and voices are acceptable and which are criminal.
Janice, a lot of criminal justice legislation in front of Parliament this fall. What other battles may come up?
Conservatives used their first opposition day of the new fall sitting to call out the government yesterday for not using its first legislation to reverse measures brought in by Justin Trudeau's government that direct the justice system to make it easy to get bail, a change that Conservatives and also provincial premiers have argued currently allows violent offenders to be set free to commit more crimes again and again. Here's opposition leader Pierre Poilievre.
If the Liberals are not prepared to reverse their own mistakes, then get out of the way and let Conservatives make Canadians safer.
In addition to the Conservative motion on bail reform yesterday, a Conservative MP has drawn the top debate slot for private members' business this fall, and he introduced his bill yesterday, which is going to crack down on intimate partner violence. Sean Fraser also has at least 2 more criminal justice bills coming. He says he will also have bail reform legislation. So we'll see if Liberals and Conservatives are prepared to back each other's proposals or all this gets bogged down in politics.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
And finally, more on our top story now, the controversial suspension of American talk show host Jimmy Kimmel, which is sparking fierce debate about free speech in the United States, with reaction coming from Washington to Hollywood, all the way to a small town on Canada's east coast, where Kimmel established an intimate connection. Heather Gillis explains.
Scenic and serene, but that's not what put the town of Dildo in Newfoundland and Labrador on the map. Its sexually suggestive name landed the town 100 kilometers outside St. John's in the spotlight when Jimmy Kimmel featured it on a show back in 2019.
Hello, my fellow Dildoans. It's me, your honorary mayor.
Kimmel became the town's honorary mayor, erected a sign with the town's name in the hills, just like the one in Hollywood, causing a surge of tourists, says gift shop owner Lynette Reed.
You can't put a dollar value on the number of people worldwide that had dildo on their minds. That's funny, yeah.
Over at the historic George House B&B, owner Todd Warren agrees.
You put it in the same categories as winning a lottery.
Folks in Dildo have been so thrilled.
Kimmel's show was paused indefinitely Wednesday after he made comments about American right-wing activist Charlie Kirk's alleged murderer, saying that MAGA followers were trying to characterize him as anything but one of them, drawing criticism from the Federal Communications Commission's head, a Trump appointee. It leaves Reed to wonder about what it means for Americans.
Well, it is terrible that when you think about freedom of speech and that some political party might be able to influence what or what not is on TV. But it's funny because when I was watching it this morning on the news, I thought, well, Jimmy Kimmel's got a fallback job. He could always come here and be our mayor.
It's estimated Kimmel generated $12 million in free tourism advertising for Dildo. Attention now on pause, along with Kimmel's show. Heather Gillis, CBC News, Dildo.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. If you're enjoying the World Report podcast, and we hope you are, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps to spread the word. And for news anytime, go to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC's Information Radio. Last Friday of summer. Officially we're into fall on Monday. And it's going to rain in Winnipeg. It's already raining over in Portage. Thanks for joining us here on the show. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Well, this hour on the program, a woman in Winnipeg says she's appalled by the way Canadian MPs honored the death of U.S. conservative activist Charlie Kirk, some of them standing in the House in this country. We're going to talk to her. We're also going to talk about how she posted some of her views online and says she's lost friends over it and she has concerns about division, but feels it's important to speak out. So stay tuned. That's coming up before 8. Also this hour, to a couple of other stories that are much different in texture. We're going to take you to a Manitoba vineyard where grapes are about to be picked and crushed into wine and made ripe for harvesting a little earlier than usual. But we begin with learning more about a human library event that's happening in the city. So stay tuned for that. Right now, other updates on stories with Heather Wells, who has our headlines this Friday. Hi, Heather.
Hi there. Good morning. Well, the plan to overhaul the office that protects seniors in care appears to be stalled. The Protection for Persons in Care was supposed to be disbanded after a scathing report found serious allegations of abuse were being dismissed. It was a promise made under the former PC government. Current Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says the NDP government is instead focused on eliminating the office's backlog. Members of a local union feel betrayed after a former staffer was accused of swindling $55,000 through fake checks. Unifor Local 3005 represents about 350 employees at Magellan Aerospace in Winnipeg, and it is now suing its former financial secretary. I'll be back with those stories and more coming up at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Abby Adiemi, what's going on out in the weather?
It's going to be cool and damp in many areas today. The clouds already rolling in. Some regions already seen showers this morning. The south will be staying mostly cloudy with showers almost everywhere, while the north enjoys a bit of some bright conditions, but also clouds will build there later. 15 degrees still in Winnipeg. Cloudy skies through the morning. Clouds would linger. There's a very good chance of showers this morning, and by the afternoon period, the rain becomes even more steady. Temperatures will be climbing to around 17 degrees, and that's the condition across board. Talking about traffic, we still have the middle lane between St. Mary's Avenue and York. St. Marian Avenue and York Avenue closed for building construction until the end of today. McGillivray also, I see something there about the eastbound and the westbound lane around the Pembina highways. That's going to be closed for rail crossing, and then regular construction around the Abenoy-Jamaica and Archibald area. Those constructions will still be impacting traffic today. So plan accordingly, and you see anything, let us know. 788-3093.
Well, everybody ready? Shh. Usually, when you visit a library, you're told to be as quiet as possible. But today, for one day only, one space in Winnipeg wants to get you talking. There's a human library project going on where instead of borrowing books, you borrow other people's life stories. You may have been to a similar project at our library downtown, where you sit across from someone and they tell you a story, and it's like an open book, the human being. But this event's being put on by Heartland International, a school in Winnipeg for students to grow their language skills. And they're putting on an event for their students and alumni to sit face-to-face. It's over at Fett Ice Cream on Assiniboine Avenue today. What they noticed is that sometimes people can feel lonely, and they need someone to connect with in community, to fight that loneliness that often accompanies people as they're adjusting to all kinds of new things and might be living with a bit of a language barrier. So Jasmine Knight is with Heartland and joins us in studio. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Marcy.
What a great idea this is.
I know, I'm so excited. This is our second year hosting this event. My colleague Scott was the person who initiated this, and it was such a rich and meaningful activity for students, and we're excited to do it again.
What was the feedback last year from students who took part?
I think, students are always like looking for opportunities to speak to others, but are afraid to do so. So we're really proud that they were able to put themselves out there and be in an environment that's safe enough for them to practice their English skills and feel like they can make a mistake or ask a question and not feel silly or anything like that. Yeah.
And is the format similar to what we might have seen at the Millennium Library, where you sit across from each other and talk?
Yeah, similar with small groups, and then we do a big Q&A at the end as well. But we rotate. We have 4 books this year, 4 guest speakers. So,
What kind of conversations do people have at the Human Library?
So the theme is always just life stories in Winnipeg. So these are all international students who have already graduated from the program at Heartland who are coming back to talk to our current students about their life now, what they're doing, what their hopes are, what brings them joy in Winnipeg, how they've been finding community with others in the city. Yeah.
Love it all. Daniel Ortiz is with us as well in studio, a newcomer who moved to Winnipeg from Mexico a year ago. And you're going to be a book today. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling about sharing your story? I know you were part of it last year. How does it feel to share?
Oh, I feel happy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel happy because I think Heartland is a great school. I was studying during 7 months the past year, and I learned, I improved my skills in English very in a big change for me. When I arrived to Winnipeg, I only can say yes, no, coffee, please, and
really
no more.
You've come this far in 7 months.
Yes.
Good for you. That's amazing.
I have a good teachers in Heartland.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling, why you wanted to speak this year at the event. Why do you want it to be part of this today?
I feel good. Last year, I participated in a human library as a student, and the stories about the last students, they motivate us to work, to continue studying English, and this is my chance to speak with the new students and motivate they.
Absolutely. It would be important to have someone to help you. How does that feel how important is being encouraged? Like how it must be very difficult to learn English when, you feel, we talked about, you could feel lonely. It's can be very hard.
The hard part is sometimes the listening, and sometimes English has specific sounds that don't exist in Spanish. So other language need practice that sounds. Like the word theater is very difficult to say to speak to Spanish speakers.
How do you say theater in Spanish?
Teatro.
Teatro. Well, English is crazy. It doesn't make any sense, right? If you look at Spanish and French, it all sort of makes some same sense. English is very, very different, right?
Sometimes English has similar words that meaning opposite meaning. I remember the first time that I went to a restaurant and I asked about a Coke, and I said another word similar, a bad word.
Okay. Can you say it on the radio?
Maybe not.
Okay.
It's not a good idea.
Did they eventually bring you a cola, I hope? Did they bring you something, right? You got your drink eventually?
I only ask about coffee now.
I guess so. Part of what you'll talk about beyond learning and to motivate, you're going to share your experience moving to Winnipeg from Mexico. Why did you want to move here?
Because my family and I always like Canada. We know Canada maybe since 2007, and we went many times to visit Calgary, Toronto, Vancouver. Really, Winnipeg, we didn't know. We know Winnipeg the last year, and we like this city.
Jasmine, how common or is what some of what Daniel's sharing to other students? We talked about the loneliness and barriers, but also just the difficulty of this language.
Absolutely. I think our international students are here to improve their language skills. Many of them actually also go back to their country of origin to pursue other goals too. And so they're here to really immerse themselves in the language. And I think the Human Library is a wonderful way to extend those opportunities outside of the classroom and learn how to be in relationship with other people, make new friendships, make connections. And I think that makes a huge difference in their experience here as an international student.
How hard has it been to make connection in Winnipeg? Making connection, is that difficult?
No, really no. I have some good friends in Winnipeg now. I think the people in Winnipeg is very friendly. I made good friends in Herland and outside Herland.
So you found connections within the school and also wider community as well. Speaking of connections, you're already also getting involved in other events. What are you doing in October? You have something coming up in October? For Day of the Dead, maybe?
Oh, yes. I was volunteering in an association, non-profit in Winnipeg many months ago. The association is Mexican Manitoba, and I helped to prepare the next event. Is the Day of the Dead. We celebrate in October 31. Day of the Dead is a magic celebration in Mexico. In Mexico, we think the dead is a way to understanding death with tenderness and respect. It's a part of the natural cycle of life. So this is a very important event to all people of Mexico.
I love that you're going to be having something happening here. I know Day of the Dead, as you mentioned, sorry, my throat's going, is very special to people to honor those that have passed. So you'll be bringing some of that here to our community, which is lovely. We'll have to have you back to talk about it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. On October 31st, of course, which here is Halloween, but for you means something else. Enjoy your day today. Enjoy being a book. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Thank you
Jasmine.
so much, Marcy. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you being in. What a wonderful way to make connection. What a great Friday story. We've had Jasmine Knight in with us in studio with Heartland International English School, and Daniel Ortiz, who's a Winnipeg newcomer and former Heartland student. Today, he's going to be one of the open books at the school's Human Library, trying to help those seeking connection and also just sharing stories and giving people confidence with English.
An innocuous state, a veritable household pet. Something he took with him when he left. I've got a problem with authority figures. You're omnipotent, you're grinning.
Kylie V on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. That is Distance, the name of the tune. It is 7:27 AM. By the way, that Human Library event I was just talking about, I neglected to mention at the end there, it's happening at Fett Ice Cream today down on Assiniboine Avenue. And while it is student to student, they also say, if you pop by, maybe you can cheer people on, or you maybe get some ice cream and overhear what's going on there with the Heartland students. It is cloudy and 15 degrees. News coming up at 7:30. But first, Scott Reguer has our early look at sports.
Good morning. Well, let's start with track and field, where it's another big day for Canada at the World Championships in Tokyo. The country will be hoping for similar success in the decathlon to what it experienced at the last Worlds in Doha.
For the first time in World Championship history, a Canadian wins the decathlon, but it's not the Olympic champion Damien Warner, it's his great friend Pierce Lepage, who tonight steps out of the shadow of the man who inspired him into the sport. Tonight belongs to Lepage.
That's the sound of Whitby, Ontario's Pierce Lepage winning, as you heard, Canada's first ever World Championship gold in decathlon. Lepage begins defense of his title tonight when he contests the 100 meters, the long jump, as well as the shot put. He'll do it after failing to finish his last competition, where Lepage fell after hitting a hurdle knocked down by one of his opponents. London, Ontario's Damien Warner is trying to shake off struggles of his own. The winner of gold at the Tokyo Olympics, Warner dropped out of contention at the Paris Games when he missed all of his attempts in the pole vault. Warner and Lepage get started tonight in Tokyo at just before 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific, and of course CBC will have the live stream. Canada currently on 3 medals, all gold in Tokyo. The country's best ever finish at a World Championships was in Beijing a decade ago, when Canadians reached the podium 8 times. Meanwhile, lots of other sports going on tonight. In the CFL, the Toronto Argonauts are set to host Montreal, while the BC Lions are in Calgary to face the Stampeders. And in baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays are in Kansas City this evening to take on the Royals, looking to snap a 2-game skid. After taking the opener, Toronto dropped its last 2 games in Tampa Bay. The Jays' magic number to clinch a playoff berth remains at 3. And finally, a massive opportunity for Canada's women's rugby team this afternoon. They'll take on New Zealand for a spot in the World Cup final. It'll be a tall task for the Canadians, who've never won the tournament before, while the Kiwis have done so a half dozen times. There's also the matter of playing on short rest. Canada's quarterfinal win over Australia came less than a week ago. Still, Regina native Gabrielle Senft likes her team's chances.
The only difficult thing is it's a 6-day turnaround. So making sure that the bodies are right and the mental capacities are back on track with our energy levels. But in terms of playing in New Zealand, we're not stressed. We're not worried about it. It's a team we've faced and we just have to bring out our best game.
We have seen a lot of Canada's best games so far at this World Cup, with routs of Wales, Scotland, Fiji, and Australia. But New Zealand are a different proposition. Before a narrow win against the Black Ferns last year in Christchurch, Canada had lost all 17 of its previous matches against them. One thing's for sure, the Canadians have plenty of support going in, including from Shania Twain and the tragically Hip. The Hip have lent their name to a limited edition T-shirt and rugby jersey that's helped raise money for the squad, while Twain posted on social media this week, complete with flex and heart emojis, "I'll be cheering for you all on Friday. Let's go, girls." The semifinal kicks off from Bristol, England today at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific time. That's your look at sports.
And that's Scott Reguer. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it is cloudy. It's 15 degrees. You might want to grab the umbrella. We're expecting a good chance of showers this morning and then showers in earnest this afternoon through tonight into Saturday. Friday's high, 17. The plan to overhaul the office that protects seniors in care appears to be stalled. The Protection for Persons in Care was supposed to be disbanded after a scathing report found serious allegations of abuse were being dismissed. It was a promise made under the former PC government in 2023. Former Judge William Burnett was paid more than $1 million to help create the new independent office. Now, the NDP is not committing to the plan. PC health critic Trevor King says it's a waste of taxpayers' dollars.
It's rather concerning and appalling that a report that a huge amount of taxpayers' dollars was spent on this individual to give recommendations and nothing is being done with it.
Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says this was a Tory promise, and the NDP is instead focused on eliminating the office's backlog and creating a new seniors advocate. More doctors are seeing Manitoba patients. The College of Physicians and Surgeons annual report shows on April 30th this year, this province had a net gain of 164 physicians compared to the year before, with a total number of 3,498 doctors registered. Now that is welcome news to Doctors Manitoba President Dr. Nichelle Desilets. She still wonders, though, why the number of newly registered physicians who have obtained medical degrees in Manitoba is lower than in some previous years.
The question I have is, those folks have trained here. They've seen the ins and outs of the system. Why aren't they staying with that knowledge that they have? Is there something impacting their desire to stay based on their previous experiences in the medical system? So I think that deserves a little bit more digging into.
The report shows of the 302 newly registered doctors, 70 obtained their medical degrees in Manitoba. Members of a local union feel betrayed after a former staffer was accused of swindling $55,000 through fake checks. Unifor Local 3005 represents about 350 employees at Magellan Aerospace in Winnipeg. It is now suing a former financial secretary. The lawsuit alleges she submitted payments from union funds into her own personal bank account. A.J. McCauley is the union's current financial secretary.
She gained a lot of trust. She had multiple, a lot of relationships with people, personally developed relationships with people. The members ultimately feel betrayed.
None of the allegations have been proven in court. The former financial secretary has also been charged with theft over $5,000. Some of the American late-night talk shows got their first opportunity last night to respond to the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. ABC took Kimmel off the air earlier this week for his remarks regarding the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. At CBS, Stephen Colbert is offering his support.
But tonight, we are all Jimmy Kimmel. I still have a show, though, right? Okay, good.
Winnipeg comedian Dean Jenkinson says it is the job of comedians and comedy writers to reflect society and hold those in power to account. Jenkinson says it's not about whether someone is funny or not.
Dissuade people from standing up and criticizing. The lawsuits against the media, the lawsuits against the New York Times, it's just this kind of, we are going to make it clear that if you speak out, you will, the nail that stands out will get hammered down.
Jenkinson says these kinds of things happen under authoritarian government in parts of the world like North Korea or China and shouldn't happen in democratic countries. The outgoing head of Britain's Foreign Intelligence Agency is issuing a dire warning about Vladimir Putin. Richard Moore says there's absolutely no evidence the Russian president will negotiate peace in Ukraine. Moore says Putin is stringing along the Western allies as he looks to, quote, impose his imperial will by all means at his disposal. Moore's assessment comes as he prepares to leave MI6, I should say, after 5 years on the job. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, Brandon is a little less green this week. The city's in the process of cutting down more than 70 ash trees along several downtown streets. The trees had to be sacrificed to stop the infection of a disease commonly known as jumping tree lice. Emmy Sanderson at the Brandon Downtown Biz says businesses understand the sickly trees weren't doing a lot to beautify the area.
And sometimes, like with the trees coming down, it's a little 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we're hopeful that in the end it's going to be for the greater good.
The city says replacements for the trees being cut down now will be planted in the spring. You can find more news throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, Heather Wells, thank you.
Thank you.
So that's your live news report from Manitoba at 7:36 a.m. on this Friday, September 19th. Let's find out what your weather's looking like. Spoiler alert, wet. Albie, at least in the south, right?
Yeah, though it's going to start with a mix of sun and clouds first. Maybe that's just the silver lining there. But after that, we're going to see showers in the south, foggy conditions in the north, and more like a damp day across board. Winnipeg right now, 15 degrees. The showers is about to make its way to us. It's going to continue through the day. We warm up to 17 degrees. Light winds will stay with us into the evening, and more showers even into tomorrow. Down in the Pembina Valley, similar conditions we're seeing. Expecting showers today, warming up to 17 also, and those showers will continue overnight into tomorrow morning. The highs will be similar to around 17, 18. West of Brandon, we're looking at 13 degrees right now. They already saw the rain, and more rain still in the forecast there. Some fog also to go with that. Those showers will continue through the day with windy conditions from the northeast. Highs will be just around 16 degrees. Tracking conditions in the Parkland region where we have fog overnight. We still have those foggy conditions, 12 degrees there. Today is going to hold more like that's a slim chance of showers. The highs will be near 17 degrees. Gimley's at 15, mostly cloudy now. Also showers heading that way. That would continue for most of the day. Warming up to 17 with just light winds coming from the northeast. And those showers would stay with you even into the overnight period. It's going to be more like on and off. And then tomorrow in the southern region, we're going to see more wet day. The powerful influence nearby areas, we're looking at temperatures hovering between 5 degrees in some areas and 11 in some areas. Outside Flin Flon, we're seeing foggy morning. It's going to turn to a mix of sun and clouds by the afternoon period, warming up to 17 degrees, and then those foggy conditions will return later in the evening for some sunshine tomorrow. Thompson at 0, Marcy. It's foggy there. Also expecting a sunny day, then a mix of sun and clouds, warming up to 19. Churchill, 10 degrees, mostly cloudy, also foggy conditions there. That should clear by the noon period, and there's a slim chance of drizzle in the forecast. You warm up to 18 degrees. In traffic, it's already picking up. As we know, there's going to be construction in a whole bunch of areas across the city, causing some delays. Southbound Donald, the middle lane is gone between St. Mary Avenue and York. You need to take that into consideration. That should affect peak traffic today. And then McGilvery eastbound, westbound between Pembina Highway and Beaumont Streets is also closed for that rail crossing construction. So if you're going that way, then Archibald and of course Abanoji Mikina, we still have lane reductions there. You see anything in traffic? Let us know. 788-3093.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, next on the show, some listeners might be surprised to hear that Manitoba has a commercial vineyard. Those grapes are specially developed to survive in our cold climate. The fruit is turned into red and white wines at Shrugging Dr. Beverage Company here in Winnipeg. CBC Manitoba's community reporter has a Friday story for us. Shanley Vidal went out to the Winkler area vineyard just as grapes were ripe for harvesting.
Over here is a vine that's been doing particularly well. It's quite full of grapes this year.
Zach Isaacs is the winemaker for Shrugging Doctor. He's in charge of overseeing the company's vineyard in southern Manitoba. This year, those 2 acres of grapes have ripened about 2 weeks ahead of schedule.
I think it's been a very good season, as evidenced by the fact that I think we're going to have our earliest harvest ever this year.
And there's more grapes, but they're hard to see.
Yeah, which is why I'm doing what's called de-leafing. Where you kind of trim off a decent amount of the canopy to expose the grapes. You only want to do it within a couple days of when you're going to pick, because it opens them up to the birds and the direct sunlight and things like that. Yeah, there's quite large clusters in here. So we've got a number of different varieties growing, like Prairie Star, Frontenac Noir, Gris, and Blanc. So these are called gray grapes. So they don't have a lot of color to them, but they lend an interesting body and color and whatnot to our white wines.
About 10 varieties grow in the vineyard and are different from the ones you'd find at a grocery store. These hybridized grapes have been developed by universities to withstand the cold.
You know, one might be very high in acid, or one might be lower in sugar, or one might have, this taste or that taste. And so, yeah, by blending them all together, I think you make a stronger wine.
Harvesting is done all in one day and involves a team of 40 people. Then the grapes are immediately taken to Shrugging Doctor's winery in Winnipeg, where they're destemmed and pulverized into juice.
You just kind of come along here, you take a cluster, you go with a cutter, and you cut off the whole cluster.
All of these grapes will be picked and turned into 2,000 liters of wine. The bottles will then go through an aging process. That means this particular harvest won't be on shelves until 2027.
Some of our red wines that we make from the grapes that we grow on our farm, but the kind of cold hardy grapes that we grow in Manitoba are not really grown commercially anywhere in the world.
Willow's Christopher co-founded Shrugging Doctor with Isaacs more than a decade ago.
So I always get people that ask me, what does this wine compare to? Because they're trying to compare it to a grape that they know, but they're really unique in their taste. It doesn't really get hot enough in Manitoba to grow sweet grapes, so all of our grape wines are quite on the dry side. They're acidic, earthy, floral.
With the grapes harvested and the wine aging, there isn't much work left to do in the vineyard for now.
You know, in Manitoba, you get the occasional winter that's just going to be minus 50 and you know, that's unavoidable. It's going to happen here. So if we coddle the grapes too much, they're not going to last through those cold winters. So we do some pruning and whatnot, but we kind of just leave them out in the winter. And then as soon as it starts getting warm, they'll start blooming and you'll start seeing the little flowers and the little leaves start coming out again.
Shanley Vidal, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Shrugging Doctor, by the way, also makes wine out of locally grown fruit like rhubarb and strawberries. And thanks to CBC's Shanley Vidal for the item, but also our videographers. If you're watching on our YouTube stream of the show live this morning, beautiful shots over the vineyards in Manitoba. We live in such a pretty place. Fall really shows off, I think, here. Jason Empson and Travis Golby involved in that piece.
If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
Well, around 1,500 people gathered in Winnipeg for a vigil this week to honor Charlie Kirk. This happened Tuesday night. The founder of Turning Point USA and right-wing conservative podcaster was assassinated last week at a speaking event in Utah. Kirk, as you likely have heard, was the host of his own self-titled podcast. He shared his views there on topics like gun control, abortion, and immigration. He also often spoke about diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which we call DEI. Here is a clip of Kirk talking to a person at a rally earlier this year about DEI, and a warning what you're about to hear could be offensive.
Here's what's upsetting to me, Heather, is if I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. It creates resentment, doesn't it, Heather? This is not a way to design society.
Following Charlie Kirk's death, Prime Minister Mark Carney and Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew issued statements condemning the violence and extending their condolences. On Monday, some members from the Liberal and Conservative parties also stood up in the House of Commons after Alberta MP Rachel Thomas praised Kirk's legacy and spoke about the importance of hearing differing views and freedom of speech. Zilla Jones is a criminal defense lawyer. She sent a letter to Premier Kinew and Prime Minister Carney this week about this. She says as a black woman, she finds their behavior and all of this very disappointing. Good morning.
Good morning, Melcy. Nice to be here.
What was the nature and the focus of what you said in your letter?
I was very concerned about the fact that both our provincial and especially our federal government, with the standing ovation, have essentially reframed what was the death of a private citizen in the United States who held no elected office, was not any kind of humanitarian or scholar or artist or any kind of figure of note. He had a podcast and he was a Trump lobbyist, Trump supporter, and yet he gets all these accolades from government members that were not given in other situations, such as when a Democratic representative was murdered in her home 3 months ago in the United States, who was a government figure. We haven't had that kind of response to school shootings in the United States. We haven't had that response to people in our own country that have died in various circumstances. So I was completely confused and disappointed as to why our members of parliament need to stand up in a standing ovation, not just to political violence or freedom of speech, but to the wording of Rachel Thomas, who made the motion. Mr. Kirk was characterized as an advocate for faith, family, and freedom. That is what they stood up and applauded.
I just, because you used the term standing ovation a couple of times, I've seen the video, and I just want to make clear, not everyone stood. There were some MPs remained seated, but there were...
The NDP did not. I think Chrystia Freeland did not. Some Liberals did not, but a vast majority did.
Why did that bother you personally?
As I said, I think that the person they were standing and applauding is not a person that deserves applause. The person they are standing and applauding said and did many hateful things. They were an advocate for violence. So if we are talking about political violence, I agree that that is a terrible thing. Mr. Kirk advocated for people arming themselves and carrying guns. He said that he didn't care if people died in school shootings because it was a price to pay that was reasonable in order to preserve Second Amendment rights. He was very callous towards the deaths of children in schools. He said that white citizens should arm themselves and make militias against the Great Replacement, which is people of color coming to the United States, essentially to, quote, replace white people as he saw it. And yes, political violence is bad, but it is exactly people like Mr. Kirk and Mr. Trump who invoke political violence, who thrive on political violence. You see the January 6th riots were very violent. Mr. Kirk sent busloads of youth to those riots. And so if we're concerned about political violence, we should not be applauding somebody who made their career essentially supporting political violence. And moreover, we shouldn't be applauding somebody who said many racist, homophobic, sexist, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, anti-everybody statements. So if we really want to do something about political violence, we should be standing against that kind of rhetoric that Mr. Kirk engaged in. And that would be a better statement to make. So if that's what they want to say, then they should be denouncing his rhetoric at the same time that they denounce political violence, not denouncing it, but leaving it open to honor and even canonize him.
As you know, there was a vigil here I mentioned in Winnipeg Tuesday. There were 1,500 people there at the ledge. What did you think of the turnout when you saw it?
It's disappointing that there's 1,500 people in this community that felt that this was something they should come out to a vigil for. However, I do take some hope from the fact that it was only 1,500 people. So we know that the religious right is very organized, and this is what they were able to get from their organizing. When we think of the riot, or not the riot, but the protest that was held at the Manitoba legislature in 2020 for the death of George Floyd, the Black man who was murdered by Minneapolis police, there were 10 to 15,000 people there. And that was during COVID, when we technically were under restrictions not to even be there. So more may have come if not for that they may have had health concerns and not come out. And we had at least 10 times more the people at that protest or that event than we had at the Charlie Kirk event. So I do think there are still more people in this community that are of goodwill and want peace and want to build bridges than there are people that want to divide. But it's still disappointing that the event even happened in terms of the Charlie Kirk Vigil.
CBC News was there covering it, and people at the vigil for Kirk. He was called a, quote, martyr. He was also called by David Zacharias, who was in the crowd and CBC spoke with. He was compared to the late Billy Graham and Martin Luther King Jr., both of who were preachers. What concerns you about the division that this could amplify in our province?
Well, I think that there is a lot of division that is coming from this type of rhetoric. So, I mean, when you played the clip from Charlie Kirk, things are being used as wedge issues, things like, quote, DEI, which means diversity, equity, inclusion. And I can talk about that and what that really is and how it's being misrepresented and presented to people as if their enemy or their threat are other people in their community. So we are not threatened by immigrants. We are not threatened by people who are a little bit different than us in the way that they look or their religion or the way they live. The threat is coming from much bigger forces. So we are looking at the United States government being co-opted by billionaires. We are looking at a loss of democracy. We're looking at the creep of authoritarianism. That's the bigger threat. And when we focus on things like DEI and affirmative action and transgender pronouns and all these other wedge issues and culture wars, it distracts from the real issue, which is the declining standard of living and the declining power politically that we all have. And so we need to be united against that rather than being divided by these kind of issues and this kind of rhetoric.
On Facebook, you wrote, quote, the people who bear the cost of free speech are minorities and vulnerable groups, which reiterates what you're outlining here. What reaction did you have when you were publicly sharing your views about Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, so I mean that is very true. That, as Charlie Kirk said, there's a price to pay for gun rights. There's also a price to pay for freedom of speech, and I think this is often something that's overlooked. Is that the people that are most often the target of hate speech will be minorities. So people of color, Indigenous people, Jewish people, Islamic people, queer people. We are the ones that have to take all this hate. So anytime I do speak out about something like this, I do get hate and I do get threats. And so I certainly have received that.
If we were to have a frank discussion in Manitoba, where we live, about Charlie Kirk and the entirety of his legacy, and an entirety of I think legacy is the right word. He's been killed. He's left behind what he said. What would that look like to you?
Well, I think it begins by being honest. So what a lot of people have been getting in trouble for, especially in the US, is for simply repeating what Charlie Kirk said, like the clip that you played. And they're getting pushed back that, oh, you're taking out of context. He didn't mean that. He wasn't a hateful person. So I think we need to be honest about who he was and what he said and why he said it.
Why was it important to you, or why did you agree to speak to us publicly on CBC about it, Zilla?
Well, I think it's really important, to change the channel a little bit on this conversation. So as I said, we have got a little bit stuck into going back and forth about, was Charlie Kirk good? Was he bad? Should he have been shot? Should he not have been shot? No, obviously he shouldn't have been shot. Let's, get that part straight. But I think it's very important that we, as I said, unify together as a province, as a nation, as a people, and that we understand that we're stronger together, that our neighbors are not our enemies. We shouldn't be losing friends over this. I've lost friends over this, and I find that heartbreaking, because I think that we should always be able to continue to talk to each other, to continue to love each other, to continue to hold each other up. If we really want to tackle it, we need to look at the kind of rhetoric and the kind of tactics that are coming from that part of politics. So we need to push back and build a better politics, one that is hopeful, one that brings people together, one that uplifts people, one that makes people's lives better.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
That was Zilla Jones. She locally works as a criminal defense lawyer here in Winnipeg, but today she was here to talk about her call for the Premier and the Prime Minister to apologize, is part of what she wrote in a letter after she watched Canadian politicians in this country, some of them stand and talk about Charlie Kirk in our House of Commons. And she outlined she has concerns with that and more around divisiveness in our community. If you do want to weigh in, you know how to do so. It's 788-3205.
It's an honor to have you at the White House.
The stories that matter.
The opportunity is in the partnership.
As they happen.
There are some places that are never for sale.
And what they mean to you.
But never say never. Never say never.
For news you can trust, stay with CBC News.
Well, I think we need this right now, so let's have Don Amero's music on the air. He likes to share honest stories, and earlier this year he released a deeply personal song. This is called I Just Want to Talk. It's inspired by a spiritual journey and a desire for connection in uncertain times. It's a heartfelt track from his
God,
latest.
can you hear me now? Been praying out loud on my knees. Please, I need your help. Are you with someone else? Are you busy? Oh, I'm losing my faith. Do I still have your grace? I hate that I'm starting to doubt it. Oh, it's hard to believe in a love I can't see, but I don't want to live without it. Why can't we just talk about it? God, I heard this is your house. I've been in and out looking for you. If you hold us all in your hands, help me understand why we fall through. Oh, I'm losing my faith. Do I still have your grace? I hate that I'm starting to doubt it. Oh, it's hard to believe in a love I can't see, but I don't want to live without it. Why can't we just talk about it? this mess. I gotta confess, it doesn't make sense. Oh, I'm losing my faith. Do I still have your grace? I hate that I'm starting to doubt it. Oh, it's hard to believe in a love I can't see, but I don't wanna live without it. Why can't we just talk about it? I just wanna talk about it.
Don Amaro tune's called I Just Want to Talk. It was inspired by his own journey and a desire for connection in uncertain times, Don Amaro says, of course, local artist here. That is from his latest collection if you want to check out more of his music. It's 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. Let's talk to Heather Wells right now about what's making news.
Good morning. Well, the plan to overhaul the office that protects seniors in care appears to be stalled. The Protection for Persons in Care was supposed to be disbanded after a scathing report found serious allegations of abuse were being dismissed. It was a promise made under the former PC government. Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says the NDP government is instead focused on eliminating that office's backlog. Winnipeg comedian Dean Jenkinson worries what's happening to Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert will put a chill on free speech in the U.S. Jenkinson, just one of many comedians weighing in after Kimmel was pulled off the air this week by ABC. We're going to hear more reaction coming up on World Report and in our next local news at 8:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Forecast-wise, we're going to be wet here. Cloudy and 15 in Winnipeg right now. 60% chance of morning showers. This afternoon, we're going to get showers. Overnight, 10 to 15 millimeters. Tomorrow, 5 to 10 more. So that system's coming here. A high of 17. It's clouded over in the downtown right now. Coming up in the, I should mention traffic first, pardon me. There are some trouble spots, but most of them are due to construction that you may have already encountered. One of them that we continue to talk about because it kind of can bottleneck downtown is southbound Donald. The middle lanes are closed between St. Mary's and York. So note that and call us if you spot anything else or any trouble with the fog wherever you are in Manitoba. I know northern Manitoba is getting more fog than we are here in the south. But the number on the commuter line, 788-3093. Now let's talk about what's coming up. We are going to meet a local pooch who's getting ready to show off his best tricks at a doggy talent show in Winnipeg this weekend. Why? Because, well, it's Friday, and we want to have a big smile heading into the weekend. He's coming into the studio, and we're going to see him on YouTube, so stay with us. That's all coming up after 8.
Today on Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. Toni Collette is known as one of the most dynamic and versatile actors of her generation. She'll tell you about embracing emotionally authentic characters and how she's managed to avoid being pigeonholed as an actor.
When people find their groove and they're in it, it just feels like you're meant to do it.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. There's more reaction this morning to the suspension of an American TV host that has turned into a heated battle over free speech in the U.S. Jimmy Kimmel, a vocal critic of U.S. President Donald Trump, was taken off the air by ABC this week over comments he made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Trump applauded the move and late yesterday escalated his attacks on broadcasters, saying those who air negative coverage of him should have their licenses revoked.
That's something that should be talked about for licensing, too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, they're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.
Trump made the comments on board Air Force One returning from a state visit to the UK. His comments come as Kimmel's fellow late-night TV hosts sprung to the comedian's defense on their own programs. Steve Futterman has more.
But with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch. And if ABC thinks
Last night, Kimmel's fellow late-night talk show host Stephen Colbert devoted almost his entire monologue to the suspension.
People across the country are shocked by this blatant assault on the freedom of speech.
And comedian Jon Stewart last night tried to show what a newscast might sound like if Donald Trump had control.
He wowed the English with charm, intelligence, and an undeniable sexual charisma.
Protect free speech! Protect free speech!
On Hollywood Boulevard, in front of the theater where Jimmy Kimmel usually tapes his show, there was anger.
Jimmy said nothing wrong. And you know what? Even if he had said something wrong, he did not deserve to be suspended.
Around 100 people gathered, attacking ABC, its parent company Disney, and Donald Trump. On CBC's As It Happens, Tom Wheeler, who was the Federal Communications Commission chairman under Barack Obama, said pressuring ABC to remove Kimmel goes against the FCC bylaws.
The policy manual at the FCC says that the First Amendment prohibits the commission from censoring broadcast material.
Kimmel's suspension has stunned the entertainment industry and has brought comparisons to the McCarthy era of the 1950s. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles. Donald Trump and Xi Jinping are holding a much-anticipated phone call this morning. The conversation between the American and Chinese leaders could finalize a deal that would keep TikTok operating in the U.S. The future of the Chinese-owned social media app has been in question for some time, with Washington threatening to ban it. CBC's Anis Hadari is in Washington. Anis, what are we expecting?
We are expecting potential details on who controls this app, or at least a little more information. TikTok had been banned in the United States over security concerns unless it was sold by its Chinese parent company. Now, that ban keeps getting delayed over and over again, but we did hear about a framework for a deal earlier this week. We didn't find out anything about it, though. Here's what Trump said yesterday.
TikTok has tremendous value. The people that are investing in it are among the greatest investors in the world, the biggest, the richest, and they'll do a great job. And we're doing it in conjunction with China.
The Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg are reporting that U.S. investors include the company Oracle, that's founded by Larry Ellison. He's a friend of Trump's. One thing to note, there are some reports that this so-called TikTok algorithm, that's the system that recommends videos to you, that might stay under Chinese control, and a U.S.-owned TikTok would basically license or rent it. So if the actual thing that keeps people using TikTok isn't owned by the U.S., it might not settle down any security nerves.
Meanwhile, Anis, Trump's call with Xi also expected to touch on the trade war between the world's two biggest economies. What more can you tell us about that?
It's the first time Trump and Xi have spoken since June. There's a lot for them to discuss, tariffs and trade disputes. The U.S. threatened tariffs of up to 145% on some Chinese exports. Some of those have been suspended or extended. Clearly, diplomatic and trade players are going to be watching and listening for what comes out of this call. Maybe some clues on where their superpower relationship goes, John.
Anis Hadari in our Washington bureau. Thanks, Anis.
You're welcome.
Overnight drone attacks in Ukraine's capital. Warning sirens in Ukraine's air defense system are heard over Kyiv. Debris from destroyed drones did some damage on the ground, but there are no reports of anyone being killed. This latest attack comes as Britain's outgoing spy chief says there is no evidence that Russia wants to negotiate peace. In a speech, Richard Moore says President Vladimir Putin is, quote, stringing us along. As global trade continues to be unsettled and the future of the North American trade agreement remains uncertain, Canada and Mexico are trying to deepen their economic ties. The Prime Minister has signed a new strategic partnership with Mexico's president that the leaders say will elevate an already strong relationship. Catherine Tunney has the latest from Mark Carney's trade mission to Mexico City.
Carney walked in step with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum as he arrived at Mexico's National Palace on grounds dating back to the Aztec Empire. Canada-Mexico trading relations are much younger, but officials are keen to make sure they have a long, long future. The relationship hasn't always been rosy. Not that long ago, Canadian politicians publicly mused about dropping Mexico from the trade deal with the U.S. And trade talks during President Donald Trump's first term saw the two smaller powers pitted against each other. Both leaders were asked if they've committed to making sure that doesn't happen again.
We're convinced that the trade agreement for all three countries is the best thing for all three countries. That's the best answer we can give you.
But we'll move forward together, without question. Is that unequivocal enough for you? Because if you want it to be unequivocal, just write down unequivocal.
That doesn't mean the two aren't looking at deeper ties. Carney and Sheinbaum announced an action plan Thursday with goals like building up maritime ports to connect the two countries and a focus on boosting investment. Today, Carney will make a stop to watch homegrown wheat get delivered by a Canadian Pacific Kansas City train at a Mexican train yard, a nod that connecting the three countries on the continent is still his intent. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Mexico City.
A humpback whale found dead off British Columbia's north coast is believed to have been struck by a BC ferry. Searchers found the animal yesterday. A ferry in the area reported a whale strike on Wednesday, about 130 kilometers southeast of Prince Rupert. Jeannie Ray leads the research group BC Whales. She says there are more and more whales in the waters where the strike happened, and they should be navigated around carefully.
So this particular area where this whale was struck is very close to the same area that BC Ferries also struck another whale last summer. And it's just an area where we need to put in place a slowdown zone, and working with the Gitga'at First Nation, I'm really hoping that's what happens.
BC Ferry says it has measures in place to reduce the risk of whale strikes, including specific training and operating protocols. Finally, Canadian cancer researchers say funding cuts in the U.S. are threatening to care for children here in this country. They say they've been forced to stop enrolling some kids in clinical trials. That's because the cuts are impacting a pediatric brain tumor research group with links to Canada. Alison Northcott has more.
This is Emmett. She's spunky, she's smart.
Emmett Doolin was diagnosed with brain cancer just days after she was born. She had chemo at 3 weeks, but then joined a clinical trial at the BC Children's Hospital, a treatment targeting her type of tumor. Her mother, Lena Doolin, says it gave them hope.
It's been the best thing that's ever happened to her. As much as these kids are resilient, with all the harsh side effects from chemo, I don't think she would have lasted this long.
Clinical trials can offer children with hard-to-treat cancers new options, but recent changes to some U.S. institutions that run pediatric cancer trials are having a ripple effect here.
The impact of this on Canadian children is huge.
Dr. Jim Whitlock, head of hematology oncology at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, says 3 clinical trials at his hospital have stopped enrollment because the group they're linked to in the U.S., the Pediatric Brain Tumor Consortium, is losing its funding.
It means that they won't be able to find those options here in Canada. Those who can may need to travel to the U.S. or to other places outside Canada to access those therapies. And of course, we know that many children and their families simply don't have the means to do that.
Emmett's trial is not affected, but at least 2 other trials for pediatric cancers in Canada have also had to stop enrolling new patients. Experts say Canada needs to strengthen its capacity for clinical trials and be less reliant on the U.S. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. Remember, for news anytime, go to our website, cbcnews.ca, including their top story this hour, a big takeout on how we're doing in terms of Canadians doing business with the U.S. by our JP Tasker. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and we are live in our CBC studios, but not quite as usual. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see I'm standing. I have a very special furry guest this morning. You're listening to CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. So my guest might be a little bit vocally nervous, but he is ready to perform tricks for you. This is not a human being with a lot of hair, you might have guessed. This is one of the dogs. It's going to be part of a special event this weekend. Barkfest is on. What a great Friday story. We're going to meet Tommy. We're going to hear more about what he's taking part in, and we'll tell you more about the event that's happening at Red River Exhibition Park this weekend, and how you can take part and check it out as well. We've got a rainy day on our hands in Winnipeg. At least it's going to be happening later and developing. It's going to be actually pretty wet coming tonight and tomorrow morning. So hopefully things will be decent for your day, but you might want to pack an umbrella if you're heading out the door. You are with CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube as mentioned. All right, before we get a fuller look at our forecast this Friday, September 19th, last Friday of summer, let's get into what's happening in the news department. Heather Wells is here live at our CBC studios. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning. Well, more doctors are seeing Manitoba patients. The College of Physicians and Surgeons annual report shows on April 30th this year, Manitoba had a net gain of 164 physicians compared to the year before, with a total number of 3,498 doctors registered. We'll hear more. And members of a local union feel betrayed after a former staffer was accused of swindling $55,000 through fake checks. Those details coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, I mentioned there's some wet weather on the way. Let's turn our attention to Abby Adeyemi, who's got our full forecast. Abby.
Yeah, good morning once again. It's going to be a cool and damp one in the southern part of the province with more clouds building, and up north we're still seeing those foggy conditions and mist in the Par and Flin Flon, but it's going to get bright as you get through the day. Right now Winnipeg still hanging around 15 degrees, mostly cloudy outside. Some showers will roll in later, and then it's going to become more steady as we get into the afternoon. Temperatures climb into 17 degrees, and that rain will continue even into the evening and overnight. We have more showers in the forecast for Saturday as well. Down south, we're seeing temperatures hover between 12 and 15. Up north, we're seeing 0 to 10 degrees. Right now, Winnipeg, we are around 14 and 15 degrees.
Okay, so it's slight a little bit from where we were. What's going on in traffic? Anything developing?
Yeah, just the construction key areas. The McGillivray, we have construction going there. Southbound Donald Street, we have, the middle lane between St. Mary and York Avenue closed for building construction. And that should really impact rush hour traffic. Other areas, we're talking about Abeno, Jamaican, Archibald Streets, and wherever you have road construction maintenance going on, you should be expecting traffic in that region. But if you see anything, let us know. 788-3093.
Now, if you see anything that is photo worthy, we also want you to let us know. So Abby's been mentioning that fog. This time of year makes for gorgeous pictures, whether it's the trees changing colors or photos like this one we've just got up on our YouTube stream. Just lovely. What we're looking at is a field, the low-lying fog. So, of course, usually fog are going to have the tops of the buildings, but this is the kind of morning fog that comes up from the ground. And then we've got above it that beautiful sunrise coming up. Actually, I think this is a sunset photo. And then above it, you've got kind of a gray sky. And in the distance, it seems to be a structure that almost looks like a grain elevator. Not quite sure if it is or not. This was sent to us from Jennifer Dubois, who lives in the beautiful arm of St. Anne. And so I just thought this is gorgeous. We're trying to get you to send us fall photos. So, Abby, you actually have a couple snaps that I think you took, right?
Yeah, I also captured some sunset photos yesterday. Like, this is Blazer the Bison at a snip went, but just outside the zoo. I captured this yesterday, just during sunset. Blazer just doing his thing, hanging around there. And also, I just saw, heading home, I saw this farmer just doing his thing in the field, and you can see the orange ball in the sky there, and the power lines also there, the tractor. Lots of activities happening in this photo, just bringing that fall view into the change in scene and the environment, just letting you know, it's no longer going to be green. The white stuff is coming.
I'll tell you what, though, this is just a beautiful picture capturing a moment of harvest, as you said, with those rows of hydro poles and that gorgeous ball of the sun going down with that orange, and then backdrop against the classic color of the prairie wheat there and the farmer taking it off the field. So we know you have photos like this that you've saved on your phone. You've made them screensavers. You're texting them to your friends saying, look at this shot I got. We live in a beautiful province, so whether you're south, north, east, or west, let's make an album. Whether it is a field or a sunset, or whether it's trees, whatever you're seeing out there in the fall in Manitoba, we want your photos. So here's how you get them to us at CBC, and next week we'll put an album together if we get enough of them, and we'll share them here in our YouTube stream. That's where you can see the photos we're describing here in the radio. So get them to us by email. That's one easy way. It's radio893@cbc.ca, so that's pretty old school, but you can email us. You also, though, can post on my YouTube page, and later today I'll post up a link prompting that. And then I'll share the photos from there. But my YouTube page, my Facebook page. And my Facebook page is Marcy Marcusa. And during the show, it acts as a show page. So send in those photos and we will get them on the air. Well, you might have heard my next guest trying to give a little bit of a vocal nod. He was barking in the back there, and I'm so pleased because we want him to be vocal and we want to see his tricks. This weekend, the Red River Exhibition Park is going to the dogs. Barkfest is a celebration of all things canine. Vendors, performers, all geared toward dog lovers and their furry friends. So this weekend's festival is actually going to be having a bit of a talent show for dogs. They're actually also going to be having some agility. There's all kinds of things going on at Barkfest. But my guest is Tommy. He's 8 years old. He's a golden retriever. He is live in our studio with us. Lucky you if you're watching this beautiful guy on YouTube this morning. His owner, Dallas Clearwater, is here as well. Hi, Dallas.
Hi. How are you?
I'm really well. What a beautiful dog Tommy is.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to lean this way so he has lots of space to do his tricks, and I'll get you to look over here with me here. Whoops. I'm going to get out of the shot here so nobody wants to see me. You want to see the dog. So he's 8 years old. Has he always been a dog that could respond to your commands and do some tricks?
Yes, always. He's people pleaser for sure. Anything I want him to try, he's willing to do it. So anything to do with me, he loves to do it. So.
Tell me a little bit about what his go-to tricks are, and then we're going to see some of them before let's talk about them, and then we'll have a look here. So what are his go-tos?
So his go-tos are obviously your basic tricks, your sit, your down. One thing people don't usually teach their dog to do is a stand, which he does very well. He does a sit pretty, a wave, and one of our favorites is play dead, and hopefully he'll do it.
Okay, so we're going to see if he does it. Why did you want to be part of Barkfest, and how are you feeling about this talent competition this weekend?
Well, we're also part of the Extreme Dogs, so we just thought we would bring some more excitement to the day. He loves to do things and keep busy, so I thought, why not? We'll enter the talent contest. Yeah. Not sure how much of a talent it is, but everybody loves to see a dog do things. So
no kidding. It just makes us all smile, right?
Exactly.
You also have had, you guys are no stranger, though, to crowds. You were just at Banjo Bowl, right?
Yes, we were. Yeah, with the Extreme Dogs Agility. Yeah, for sure. And we're there again at Barkfest this weekend. We do 4 shows, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday.
So obviously this is for dog lovers, but what's the community like of people that are involved in agility in our province? Is it growing? Have you been involved in that part of it for a long time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He does lots of sports. He's actually a world champion disc dog and dock diver. So the community is great. It's huge and all very supportive in everything we do.
What docks does he dive off of? Where do you practice that?
Well, there is a local pool. It's called Dock in the Bay, and it's in St. Andrews. That's where we started. And then we started going into the States and competing with Dock Dogs, which is it's a world organization, but it's mostly in the States. There's not much in Canada, I think in Ontario and Quebec and BC, but none here, unfortunately. Our summers are so short.
I know. Right.
So we do go to the States, and he actually has competed in Worlds in Dubuque, Iowa a couple times. So.
Now, I kind of buried the lead here. I didn't even ask what kind of dog Tommy is because I can see it. But for those of you listening on the radio, so Tommy's 8, he's about mid-size, and he is a retriever?
He is a golden retriever, yes. Yeah.
Look at him. His little face is starting to turn white. He's showing his experience.
Yes, that's
My hair is turning white too, Tommy.
Ditto.
Okay, we're going to see some tricks now. This is the big payoff. So let's see what Tommy's doing to warm up for the Talent Fest this weekend. I'm going to get out of the way here.
We'll start with some basics and get him going pretty quickly because that'll get him excited. So stand. Good. Sit. Pretty. Wave. Yes. Good.
Look at him waving his little paws.
Good job. Sit. Good. Yes. Good boy. High five. Yes. How about the other one? High five. Yeah. Good boy. Ready? Stand. Good. Ready? Here's the big one. Bang.
Oh, he's just completely fallen over on his side over the bang.
Good boy. Yeah, that's our play dad. Good job, buddy.
Hey, he's jumping all over the studio now. He's so happy.
Yeah, high five.
I always love how do you get your dog to do that? Particularly the last one, because people can imagine that Tommy was sort of standing on his hind legs and putting a paw up right and left, and all of that is impressive. But I always think with the play dead, like a lot of our dogs will just kind of look at us for a while and then maybe finally go, and go down. But Tommy was just like right at your bang. He just like fell over on his side like a big flop.
Yeah, so I do something with training that. Anytime there's like a lengthy trick or something that's a little more difficult, we do something called back chaining. And so what we do is we start at the end of the trick. So we would start with a down. And most dogs, when they do a down, they're on all fours. We just kind of said head down, and then he would get into that relaxed. And then I just kind of back chained it from the down to that, and then from the stand, and just from the, I actually used a command to play dead first with my finger. So it's my finger that's mostly triggering him.
Yeah. Pointing like a little gun.
Turned it into a bang. Yeah. So
back training is, I've never heard of that before. And most of us, when we're with our own dogs, right, we automatically start with we don't do that, right?
Exactly.
I would never think of teaching him to lie down first.
Yeah, YouTube is great.
What would you say to, you did so good. Yes, you did so, look at him. He's like, I don't care about you, lady. My mom's got treats and that's where I'm going.
That's the reward, right? Like you want to make them excited to do it, and there's a reward at the end.
Tell me a little bit about what reaction you get from people. Like, obviously, it's joyful for you to watch your dog do this, but what's it like? Like, you're going to be at the exhibition grounds this weekend. Yeah. What will it be like for you to watch people cheering for your dog?
Oh, I love it. That's why we do what we do. The extreme dogs. I love that my dog makes other people happy. That just makes me happy. And he loves to do it. So I'm not forcing him to do anything. He's, I'll be honest, he's a little bit much once we start getting really excited, like the extreme dog stuff. He's like over the top, barking, jumping, and bouncing. And so that kind of excites people too. So
we like to say extra in 2025.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, he is. He is extra.
If someone out there's listening and they might have a new puppy, or maybe they are interested in training a dog, what would you suggest? I mean, you talked about going online, but is there also a supportive community here if somebody wants to sort of learn?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of, I mean, you could get private lessons, you could get classes. There's lots of great schools for puppies, and start young. You want to get basic manners out of the way first. Basic manners meaning just the important things, just being a dog, walking on a leash properly, not mouthing, just your basic things, sit, come when they're called, really important. And leash manners.
In terms of dock diving, he's obviously a retriever, so he's going to love the water, I'm guessing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he loves the water. But most importantly is he loves to run and jump. That is his. So he actually came by it quite naturally. He was quite a natural far jumper, which is what you want for dock diving. They measure the distance they jump out on the dock. So. Okay,
so does he, you throw something out there and he follows it, I guess, into the water?
Yeah.
How far can he go?
His best is 25 feet, 3 inches, which is actually double the breed standard.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, he loves it.
Okay, pull that camera back up. Let's walk back over here, Tommy. Okay, come on. So we're here. So from here to the end of the studio there is about how far? Like that?
I know it's further than that.
Look at you. You're like, that's nothing. It's like, I think it's about probably double or triple this. Yeah. This dog can leap that far.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And the height. You should see the height that he gets. I have pictures of him, the photographer. You can't even see what he's doing. There's just sky behind him. So
what a joy. This has been a lot of fun on Friday. Okay, let's do another round of Tommy tricks.
Yeah, ready?
Do you think he'll do it if I go bang at him, or is he all focused on you?
He's pretty handler focused, but you could give it a shot. Sure, stand.
Okay, let's see.
Good.
I don't think this will work.
Stand.
Tommy.
Wait, come here.
No, see, that's a good sign of a good dog. He's supposed to be handler focused. Yeah. Bang! No, look at him. Not doing it for you. Okay, I'm getting out of the way. No one needs to see me. Let's get a last close-up of the dog. People on YouTube are getting a treat, by the way, radio listeners. Here he goes.
Good job. Good boy. That's a good boy. Wave. Say hi. Hello, everybody. Good. Stand. Stand. Good job. Down. Good. Stand. Good. Sit. Good boy. And wave. Say thanks for having us. Yeah. Good job, buddy.
So cute, waving by. Yeah. Thank you very much. Good luck this weekend. I know it's more about the fun than the prizes, but also good luck in all of the other competitions that you're going to be part of with your dock diving and your extreme dogs as well.
Great. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
So if you want to see Tommy this weekend, that's why we're here, to give you some ideas for things you might do heading into your weekend. He's going to be one of the dogs that's part of BarkFest. It is on at Red River Exhibition Park this Saturday and Sunday. We've been talking to Dallas Clearwater and Tommy. They've been in studio with us here today at CBC. If you want more information, though, on the schedule for when the talent competition's happening and also when all the other events are happening, you can go to barkfestmb.ca. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy.
Driveway, leave a note on the table so long. See you later somewhere out there on the highway. Baby, you can just stay home. But if you wanna roll your snow, I'll drive, baby, go and throw your boots on. Alright, get your gone tunes on. All night, if you wanna leave it all behind, I'll drive. sign. Anywhere the wind blows, feet out the window. Move a little closer if you don't mind. You can take it nice and slow. Anywhere you wanna go. I'll drive, baby, go and throw your boots on. Alright, get your gone tunes on. Alright, if you wanna leave it all behind. I'll drive, yeah. I'll drive, yeah. I'll drive, baby, go throw your boots on. Alright, get your gone tunes on. All night, if you wanna leave it all behind. I'll drive, baby, go and throw your boots on. Alright, get your gone tunes on. All night, if you wanna leave it all behind. I'll drive.
Manitoba's own Brothers Landreth and All Drive. Their fifth studio album, called Dog Ear, by the way, we seem to have a theme this half hour, is coming out on November 14th. Now, we do have, speaking of actual driving this morning, a bit of a traffic note we need to pass along to you. This just coming in. Sarah called us to say traffic is moving slowly on Logan between Main and Princess. So on Logan between Main and Princess, both directions are down to one lane due to construction. So if you do need to update anything, we're late in your Friday drive, but please call us at 788-3093. You're listening to CBC on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app, or watching on YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We've been watching the weather here. I can see from the shot on YouTube, we've clouded over. No rain yet, but we are waiting for it. And once it starts today, and then especially into tonight, we're going to be getting quite a bit. 10 to 15 millimeters of showers tonight in Winnipeg, 5 to 10 millimeters tomorrow. In Brandon, your high is 16. You're escaping this a little bit, so a 30% chance of showers tonight and a 60% tomorrow, but nowhere near what Winnipeg's looking at. And up in Thompson, sunny today, as Abby's been mentioning through the show, and a high of 19 degrees today. Tonight, you also have just a 30% chance that you're going to see some showers. Well, on the Radio Noon call-in today, it is the final segment of something that's been a regular feature through the summer months, the Bird Calls segment. So the bird expert, Rudolph Koos, is back. You can get your calls in early. It's a really popular call-in segment. Let us know what you're seeing out there, and have you spotted a rare bird this summer in Manitoba? Radio Noon's call-in is between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, so right after your 12:30 lunchtime news here on CBC, and you can get all your calls in and questions about birds. They're very active, obviously, at this time of the year. Also, quick reminder just before we turn to the news that we are going to be live in Opaskwayak Cree Nation with the morning show on September 30th for a meaningful live show in northern Manitoba on the Day of Truth and Reconciliation, Orange Shirt Day. And if you are listening and that is your neck of the woods, we'd love to hear from you. So if you have a story to pitch or you want to be part of our programming with our wider team that's going to be there for the week, you can give us a call. It's 788-3205. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is 15 degrees. Get set to get wet in Winnipeg. We've got a good chance of morning showers and then showers beginning this afternoon, continuing tonight and tomorrow. Today's high is 17. More doctors are seeing Manitoba patients. The College of Physicians and Surgeons annual report shows April 30th this year, this province had a net gain of 164 physicians from the year before, with a total of 3,498 doctors registered. It is welcome news to Dr. Manitoba President, Dr. Nichelle Desilets. She wonders, though, why the number of newly registered physicians who have obtained medical degrees in Manitoba is lower than in some previous years.
The question I have is, those folks have trained here. They've seen the ins and outs of the system. Why aren't they staying with that knowledge that they have? Is there something impacting their desire to stay based on their previous experiences in the medical system? So I think that deserves a little bit more digging into.
The report shows of the 302 newly registered doctors, 70 obtained their medical degrees in Manitoba. A promise by the former PC government to disband the office that protects seniors in care appears to be on hold under the NDP. In July 2023, the Auditor General released a scathing report on the Protection for Persons in Care office. It found serious allegations of abuse were being dismissed. In response, the Conservative government at the time hired a former judge to create a new independent office and write a report costing $1 million. But Manitoba's Health Minister, Uzoma Asseguera, isn't committing to following through with the overhaul.
We followed through with him to make sure we could learn from that work, recognizing it was the previous government's approach. We made other commitments that we're delivering on for Manitobans.
Asseguera says instead of relying on a new office, they hired more investigators, cleared the backlog, and created a new seniors advocate office. Members of a local union feel betrayed after a former staffer was accused of swindling $55,000 through fake checks. Unifor Local 3005 represents 350 employees at Magellan Aerospace in Winnipeg. It is now suing a former financial secretary. The lawsuit alleges she submitted payments from union funds into her own personal bank account. AJ McCauley is the union's current financial secretary.
She gained a lot of trust. She had multiple, a lot of relationships with people, personally developed relationships with people. The members ultimately feel betrayed.
None of the allegations have been proven in court. The former financial secretary has also been charged with theft over $5,000. Some of the American late-night talk show hosts got their first opportunity last night to respond to the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. ABC took Kimmel off the air earlier this week for his remarks regarding the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. At Comedy Central, here is Jon Stewart.
Are the naysayers and the critics right? Is Donald Trump stifling free speech?
Of course not, John. Americans are free to express any opinion we want. To suggest otherwise is laughable. Ha, ha, ha.
Winnipeg-based comedian and comedy producer is also worried about the implications about what happened to Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. Dean Jenkinson says in Canada and the U.S., part of a comedian's job is to hold a mirror to society and tell truth to power without fear of reprisal. He says the suspensions were not because of ratings or a lack of talent. He believes it was government overreach.
If you want mergers approved, if you want other things, you need to play ball and you need to cave and kowtow, and I think that's extraordinarily dangerous. Not just as an artist, but even more so as just a citizen and a fan of freedom and democracy.
Jenkinson says this type of thing is not expected in parts of is expected in parts of the world like North Korea and China, but not in a Western society. It's known as jumping tree lice, and it has the city of Brandon chopping down more than 70 ash trees downtown. Emmy Sanderson at the Brandon Downtown Biz says no one likes to lose greenery.
From a biz perspective, we're hoping this actually adds to beautification because a lot of these trees looked dead all year. So it's actually beautification to remove them and replace them with something healthy.
Brandon says replacements for the trees cut down now will be planted in the spring. And filmmaker and journalist Avi Lewis is expected to announce his intention today to run for the leadership of the federal NDP. In the April federal election, Lewis ran in BC as a candidate for the New Democrats but lost. The party was reduced to 7 seats in the general election, with Jagmeet Singh resigning as leader after that campaign. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather Wells.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan Ketchison, Aaron Broman, and of course, Darren Marash for helping out with today's program, and to our news department mentioned there. Also, big thanks to our entire unit that works on all of our programs and current affairs at CBC Manitoba. They are producers, associate producers in our unit. Corey Funk, Abby Adiyemi, Kalkadam Mulugeta, Sierra Sanders, Chidi Akuma, May McKillop, Marshall Hodgins, Dylan Longhurst, Jenna Badosso. It's Issa Kickson, Chloe Friesen, Bruce Layden, Sid Sundance, Horshig, and Carmen Ponto. Our CA reporter and unit is Jim Agapito. Our community reporter is Shanley Vidal. Hosts Nadia Kidwai, Faith Bundal, and Marjorie Dalhouse. YouTube producers Brad Lillies and Azika Abdelatif. Nellie Gonzalez produces the shows in our CA unit, and Leif Larson is the senior producer of audio at CBC Manitoba. Thanks, everyone, for another great week, and thank you for listening. Abby's going to give you a last quick look at weather.
Yeah, the south will see rain and highs around 15. Up north, we'll see highs close to 14 degrees with just foggy and cloudy conditions. We still have traffic along McGilvery and, of course, Logan between Main and Princess, down to one lane on both lanes.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Have an awesome weekend. We'll talk to you again Monday morning here on CBC's Information Radio. The Current's coming up next. Thanks for listening. Have a good Friday.